Hey guys, Darth Lurk here, back with part 9 of our Everlasting Summer playthrough. I wonder, like, how many years am I gonna make that stupid 9 joke? Probably all of them, I imagine. Anyway, welcome back to Everlasting Summer, and, boy, I am tired of this game. I mean, it's nothing personal, it's just, like, having to, like, all the work to get to what I want is killing me, man. It's killing me. Oh, dang it, I forgot to open that tab I needed. Anyway, and obviously you guys will still see the game, so it doesn't make a difference, but I would have preferred to get this open in advance. But here we are. Let's see here. There it is. There it is. It was in a different spot, so it kind of threw me off. Anyway, so, if I seem weird today, then you're right. So, I'm a little bit frazzled, so backtrack. I have, anxiety and depression. Really, really bad on both, but I am on the road to self-improvement. My life has taken some drastic turns over the last few years, and I am trying my best to pull myself back together. So lots of good stuff coming, which is the reason that my YouTube content, comparatively for when I started, is so much better. Anyway, so, yeah, and so one of the things that gives me severe anxiety is often phone calls that I am nervous about. Not being on the phone in general, but like phone calls to, say, a doctor's office or whatever. I do get a pretty nasty spike in anxiety when I have to make a call to somebody that I don't know. Like someone I don't know for something that kind of stresses me out. And I often will put it off for way too long because it gives me such bad anxiety. Well, I bit the bullet and I made an appointment today that I've been scared to death to make forever. So, finally did it. But because of that, I feel jumpy and frazzled and weird because I finally did it, but now I feel all, like, twitchy. Now that it's over with, I feel sick. So, ignoring that, so if I seem a little weird, that's why. I had to make a call, freaked me out, and, but we're alive, and it's fine. So, last time, we did Attack on Pedo Bear, which was Olyana's good ending. I liked it more than Lena's and Alyssa's, but it was still pretty mediocre, so, you know, shrug. But, now we are on, what is this? I don't even, and that's actually the name of the ending, and this is the Miku ending. So, this one's pretty interesting because, A, this is a special route. This is the first of the special routes. To get this one, you have to get the good endings for Slavya, Lena, Alyssa, and Olyana, and/or Semyon. Which, of course, we have all of those good endings. And so, technically, Semyon's good ending is when he ends up back in his apartment alone. So, somehow that's a good ending, even though, I guess the other ending, the epic fail, is when you accidentally kill yourself. So, I guess technically that's a little worse. Anywho, so, we're on the Miku good ending. So, that's how you unlock this one. So, anyway, so this one's interesting. I don't know if this one's going to be shorter or what, because the choices only go up to day 4. And then that's it. So, it's interesting. We will see what happens with that. And, yeah, we will see. Oh, interesting. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, this is, it's interesting. It's interesting. So, the second one, and apparently they are connected. I gotta do some reading. Hang on. Second special route, you have to finish all the good endings for everyone else, and also get Miku's ending. Afterwards, I'll unlock the ending and the harem ending. Okay. And then, eat the apple, go alone, go back, save before making this choice, choose each girl and reload shortly afterwards so that you can get a CG of each of them. Ah, okay. Okay, so we will be careful, right? Well then, like, but it doesn't say which choice we're going with or weird. Okay, I don't know, sorry, there's just, from here on it gets weird, basically. From here on it gets weird, but we are close. Technically there is a Xenia ending, but Xenia is such a jerk that I'm tempted to not like, care, like, at all. Xenia is such a butthead that I am tempted to not, we might end up not doing hers at all. And that's kind of where I am sitting at, but we will see. But most likely, we'll probably skip hers, and we will hit, so basically we have 3 to go. We have today's Miku, we have, the next one is A Cat Is Fine Too, and that is the Yulia ending, and it's a adorable cat girl. And apparently at the end of hers, there's some sort of choice between 2 people. If you save before the choice, then you can see a CG of, quote-unquote, both of them. I don't know who both of them are, but we'll find out, I guess. And then the last one is Harem Master 80 level, and that is all together ending. So, you know, Harem Master for the win. And that's basically it. And then of course there's Xenia, but we're probably gonna skip her. So, I mean, cause she's not even labeled good or bad. It's just labeled Xenia. And then hers is weird too, because to get it, you have to like go to your settings and stuff. Like it's weird that way. So anyway, moving on to today's, which is, what is this? I don't even, and that is Miku's good ending. So it says / Masha or whatever, but I don't know who that is. And so I'm just calling it Miku for my own, you know, for my brain. Okay, so prologue. We have to say, no, I will stay here. All right. Nope, I'll stay here. We've already said that, so we don't have to even pay attention, but we'll say, no, I'll stay here. Forward. Okay, day 1 is take the keys, so none of this matters then. Oh my god, I feel so sick after that stupid call, dude. My stomach is killing me. We'll just run after him, and again, doesn't make a difference. The next thing that has to happen is we have to take the keys. Take the keys. There we go. Okay, we took the keys. Next is day 2. We're gonna go alone. Praise the book, because it doesn't matter. I might should have kept silent, but whatever. Alright. All the way. Keep it going. Again, I think this is just knocking things out. I don't think any of this matters. Okay. Beautiful. Alright. We're on our way, everyone. Go get it with Slavya, because why not? Okay, we are back. So, that's my bad. I am retarded. I just noticed that on day 2, it says go alone. I think what it was talking about was the cards. It says like go get the cards alone. I went with Slavya. So this time I went alone. Literally nothing different happened. So basically Olga has this locked drawer. Semyon goes up by himself. He tries to open it looking for the cards, can't find them, doesn't open. He remembers he has Slavya's keys, tries to take it, doesn't work. He hears a thump, goes outside, no one's there, comes back inside. Slavya checks on him. He makes up an excuse about the keys. He gets away with it, and then he comes back. They're like, "Oh yeah, the cards aren't there," and then that's it. So nothing different happened. Okay, but then now we're back in the mine. We did all the choices again, like completely according to plan. And now I was hitting control to fast forward, and it stopped. So this is new. He said I went further and further, and that was last one. Yeah, I went further and further. So we're in the mine once again, and we're looking for basically something new. So I was exhausted and slowly slid down to the ground, leaning against the mine's damp walls. Where is that damn shuriken? And how many hours have I been walking around here? My eyes began to close, just for a minute. So obviously this is different, and this one he goes to sleep. Obviously. Alright, solid. So, whoa! Anyway, look at that. Are we already like back at home? That'd be pretty funny. Because sometimes a dream is just a dream. One doesn't have to look it up on the internet, searching for an interpretation of a dream that invaded your dream world in such a rude manner. One doesn't have to assume that it's a sign, a prophecy, a prediction of the future. Sometimes a dream is just a dream. Beautiful story that's not going to happen in your real life. A fairy tale, sketched by your resting brain and painted by your imagination. Sometimes a dream is just a dream, even if it comes in several parts. Okay. Thank you for the monologue about dreams. Damn, I'm so tired of all this. Huh? So it's future Miku, apparently named Masha. I raised my eyes and saw a girl hanging over me. What exactly are you tired of? Everything. It's not like someone made you do this or is still making you. Well, it's not that simple. Oh, it is indeed quite that simple. Damn, you're always... Stop chatting, come on, get to work. A voice that would brook no objections came from far away. The house became empty, and the bus became empty in an instant. I don't know why I read that as house. Whatever. The girl I was arguing with sulked like a child, turned abruptly, clicked her heels, and headed to the exit. Her name was Masha. Okay, you ready? A woman appeared. Her face simultaneously expressed agony for the fates of the whole of humanity, arrogance, concentration, and fatigue. Yeah, sure. Excellent. Then, action. I didn't even realize when she left the bus, and a camera appeared, pointing at me. I shut my eyes. That's right, I must be sleeping, according to the script. How long must I sit like that? 10 seconds? 20? That should be enough. I slowly opened my eyes and started to sweep the bus with an ignorant look. That's it, I haven't got the slightest idea why I'm here. What is this, an Icarus? But why? So I have to put on the most surprised face that I've ever done. I should imagine that I'm sitting in a toilet reading a book, and then the door suddenly swings open and I see Jean Reno with a gun. I have no idea who that is. Pardon me, do you mind that I'm, pardon my French, doing number 2 here? He would surely be surprised. I just couldn't bear it and laughed out loud. Stop, stop, yelled the director. It's an outrage. We've already been shooting for a week, but we've got less than nothing. She jumped close to me. What's the matter this time? You know, well, she would hardly appreciate my story about Jean Reno. Sorry, it was hard to look her in the eyes. It wasn't like I was really worried about me messing up with yet another take, but mainly because I was afraid to break into laughter again. Okay, lunch break. Our director took off her Panama hat and began to fan herself with it. It's so hot. Well, it's summer after all. Shurik came out of thin air, proving himself to be quite observant. Duh, blockhead. You better take care of the camera. Shurik calmly dodged the Panama that was thrown at him and went back to his camera. He's always like that, calm, wise, and boring, dull, and quite predictable. Well, someone's a jerk. I got out of the bus and headed to the canteen to grab a bite. And ran into Masha at the doors. So, nothing. No surprise. You want to have something to eat? She stared at me for some time with an uncomprehending look. Okay, let's go. It's strange, seems that Masha has already visited the canteen. What is it, didn't she have time to have her lunch? I examined her thoroughly from behind. Her double ponytails were really long and dangled from side to side, now and then hitting whatever they encountered on the way. Are you sure that you're comfortable with your hair like that? I asked Masha when we sat down at the table. What's the problem? Well, they're kinda way too long, no? It's a part of my character, dork, as if they were any shorter before that. She threw an angry glance at me and proceeded to violently stir the contents of her packet of instant noodles. One day, I'm gonna get, something thanks to this diet. I already got it. Oh, sure, I bet you have already drunk all the stage props together with those guys. And what's wrong with that? I'm not paid for this work, just so you know, and it's hard. The leading role, after all. I don't drink the cameras and filming tape. Oh, it's like you're going for an Oscar. Who knows? Who knows? I reclined on the chair and lit up a cigarette. Just for your information, it's a child's camp here, in case you'd forgotten. Yeah, you seen the kids around? Masha just sniffed and didn't reply. And by the way, all the great ones had to start with something. Some of them, for instance, started with a graduation project. Not a single sane human would ever think of shooting such wild garbage. She gazed warily around with an intimidated look, making sure that no one except us was at the canteen, and continued. Only our Olga would. It's not like someone made you do it. Oh yeah? Masha said slowly with bitterness in her voice. Like I had any choice, or you did, or anyone else. Well, for starters, you could have proposed another project. To propose a subject. What subject? All this time, Masha had been sprinkling salt over her noodle cup, and it seemed she wasn't going to stop. I see you like it spicy. Huh? I directed my gaze at her cup. Damn! She slammed the salt shaker down the table and sadly dropped her eyes to a small hill of salt that, like an iceberg fighting global warming, just refused to dissolve in the broth. Oh, come on. I suddenly felt sorry for her. Anyway, I could hardly digest this crap. Sandwiches are way better. Here. I pushed my bowl in her direction. She took it silently and began to eat. Won't you even thank me? But it's completely your fault. What exactly? You distracted me, and Anyway, it's your fault. Ah, whatever. Masha kept eating in silence. I finished smoking and stabbed the cigarette out on the corner of the table. What exactly don't you like about it? Well, it's actually fine if you get used to it. Lovely noodles. I looked at Masha in a way that made clear exactly how silly and irrelevant her answer was. You're talking about the movie. About the movie. Take my character, for example. Although, never mind using it as an example. It's the worst part of the script. Were you even reading this as you wrote it? For the first 2 days, and then laziness took over. Well, I read it. So what? Does it seem normal to you? What exactly? Character. My character. What's the problem with it? I decided to play the fool till the end. Stop mocking me. If looks could kill, my death would have been a pretty painful one. All right. Calm down. Masha fixed her gaze on me. What's the matter with your character? Just a normal retarded girl? There are so many around anyway, no? Wow, this guy's an asshole. She turned red at first, then blue, and then she started green. I am not sure that the changing of colors on her face during a fraction of a second was really like that, but either way, Masha looked scary. You know, that's disgusting, she said, suddenly getting a grip. I think it's perfectly normal. The cast of a movie, or a book for that matter, can't consist only of cute, smart, and sexy characters. We still need supporting roles. Supporting, but not retarded. It's not like we don't encounter them in real life. But I'm not like that, and you're not playing yourself at all. Her stubbornness started to get on my nerves. People will watch it and say, Masha is retarded. I covered my face with my hands and put my head down on the table. Okay, and what do you suggest now? I don't know. Everything is just bad. Will it get better if you just keep crying and moaning? I'm not moaning. Oh, like I can't hear it. Well, I'd prefer if I could. You know what? I opened one eye and looked up at the enraged Masha. What? You're just an insensitive bastard. I agree. As you say, mademoiselle. And she suddenly managed to finish. She didn't manage to finish the phrase. The door burst open and a cheerful shout reached us. Masha, Semyon. Ah, here comes another raving lunatic. Oh Lord, what have I done wrong? I turned my head and looked skeptically, I don't know why I couldn't say that, at the girl who ran into the canteen, Sasha, one of the main characters. If we compare Sasha in real life with the character she's gonna play, then Masha's words about the injustice of this world don't seem that meaningless. However, on the bright side, she can't ignore Sasha's acting talent. She really becomes a totally different person on the screen. I told you like 1,000 times, don't you ever call me Masha. Masha gritted her teeth. Okay, then it would be Mashyan? Can I? Sasha snatched the chair, moved it closer, and sat beside me. Freaking cuckoo? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. How do people like that enter college in the first place? Oh, maybe she's saying crazy. Freaking crazy. Something like that. What are you talking about? I'm not doing that, okay? I know what they're going for, the cute anime thing. Not doing it. I'm a very much not a cute anime girl, so here we go. Sasha seemed to ignore Masha's opinion of her professional impropriety. Oh, we were just discussing what exactly Masha Nyan. Again, not doing it, Masha. What Masha doesn't like about our script. Just you wait till they beat the Nyan out of you. She tried to land a punch on my forehead, but I dodged and her fist slammed down on the table. Sasha gave a brief cry and started shivering. See how discontented she is? A curious young mind which doesn't seek any compromises, ready for long, painstaking work, for self-sacrifice and denial of the fragile material world, and all for what? For the truth. Wow, you're so smart. No, he's not. Sasha murmured, hugged my arm. Too bad you're not. This guy is an ass. No, you're hopeless. I'll take that as a compliment. Masha fetched her phone out of her pocket and checked the time. Okay, time to get going. Where are you going? You only appear starting day 2. It's you who should get going, dork. Me too. Sasha jumped around, still clinging to my arm. I guess so. I got up, pushed the chair back under the table, and looked over at Masha. See ya. Oh, get going. She snorted and turned away. I don't even know. Don't know that either. Just as that reached my ear, Sasha shot past me with empty noodle packets trailing in her wake. I was sitting in the bus, flipping through the script lazily. So, which idiot wrote this? Oh yeah, that would be me. I put aside the stack of sloppily stapled printed pages and fixed my sight outside the window. Indeed, it was really hot. Even without Shurik being Captain Obvious, it was hot. Let's take this asphalt, for example. It doesn't give a damn that just yesterday it was winter, according to the script. You know it has to be melting right here and now. And the grasshoppers don't care, they just keep rehearsing. By the way, which of them do the chirping? Is it the crickets or the grasshoppers? Or cicadas? No, those screech. Damn, I don't even have any interest handy for a quick check. Who cares? Then why would I? The script is all agreed on and approved, it can't be edited at all. And anyway, who would care about the grasshoppers in our movie? I don't. Although it would be a splendid idea for shooting a horror flick in the spirit of 50s US beat movies, no it wouldn't. Like for example, oh my god. If I have to spend 5 more minutes here, I'm gonna turn into an insect myself. I'm turning into something sitting here listening to you just like go on and on with your stupid brain. Why were there no air conditioners in old Soviet buses? Hey, hello, anyone home? A loudspeaker was pointed at me, and right behind it I recognized the face of Olga through the melting air. Please leave me your message after the... I felt a blow. Hey, you can't just smack the protagonist like that. Have you ever read my tour writer? Shut up. This will be the last take on the bus. I wanted this pretty bad myself. After all, it's better to be outside than stuck in the moving man melter. Shurik's camera was hanging over me. I acted as if I was really desperate about what's going on. Raged across the bus, dashed outside, ran all around, and finally collapsed down on the sidewalk. Cut. Olga smiled approvingly. Well, it seems like you are able to do it when you really want to. Sure, it seems that will is the most important thing. And now, meeting Slavya. A break, maybe? Router? I would say that router. Router prayed. We ain't here for a vacation. Off you go to your camera. He hung his head and shuffled off to his place. Action. I stared at the camp gates. I held my gaze on the statues of the pioneers and took a few steps forward. Sasha emerged from behind the gates. Hi, Semyon. My name is Slavya. and something else that I can't pronounce. A stunned silence descended upon the set. It seemed like even the grasshoppers suddenly stopped their song and looked up at Sasha with fascination. I have just one question for you. The dreadfully calm voice of Olga reached us from behind me. Have you even read the script? Sure I did, but it's so boring. It was pointless to cry, swear, go to hysterics. We couldn't find another actress here. We have only 3 weeks of the camp in this camp, and she sat down on a director's chair and began to fan herself with her Panama hat. Guys, don't you get it that we won't make it in time if we keep strolling around like this? We have lots of stuff to shoot. Could you at least get a little more serious? It's like I'm the only one who cares. A stick certainly won't work with Sasha, so maybe we should try a carrot instead. I don't know why I can't speak. Sorry, I'll try again. You'd better. I tried hard to imagine the protagonist surveying the unknown environment as millions of theories fly through his head. He's shocked. Oh my god, it's a wall of text. I'm so sad. He's shocked. He doesn't know what to think at all. His brain ready to explode. His consciousness starts to wonder, and there you go. A girl, your average pioneer, appears, and she has not the slightest idea of what's happened to him. She just greets the protagonist and sends him to the camp leader. I took a few steps forward, and Sasha appeared from behind the gates. You must be new here. I caught sight of the lens of the camera pointed at me from out of the corner of my eye and try hard to make a really surprised face. If so, you need to go to our camp leader. So you can do it if you really want to. Olga wiped the sweat from her forehead. I'm gonna turn gray before my time with all these, something of yours. And we still have to do the editing. She checked her watch. Okay, let's call it a day. I'd hardly call myself a workaholic, but even I felt that it's way too early to stop, given we're already falling badly behind schedule. Don't you think that... I do, but I feel absolutely done. As you wish. I shrugged and headed into the camp. Evening was closing in. Tonight I was dining with Masha, Sasha, and Alyssa. There was a huge bowl of fried potato slices with mushrooms right in front of me. One of the perks of summer, fresh vegetables from the garden. You better show that much effort during filming. You seem to prefer instant noodles over this. What are you talking about? Sasha is a great chef, mumbled Alyssa. Didn't anyone ever tell you that it's impolite to talk with your mouth full? And you're always complaining. Sasha was about to burst into tears. Oh, Lord. Come on, chill out. Everything's delicious. I'm, again, not doing that. Masha, do you want me to make something? Masha gave her such a dirty look that it became obvious even to Sasha that she shouldn't continue. But anyway, just tell me honestly. I won't. But you don't even know what I'm about to ask you. I know. So what's it gonna be? She stared at me with a triumphant look. Why do I come up with such a rubbish script? Damn. Alyssa and Sasha laughed. Oh, I see that you're both okay with it. What's the matter? It's summer, we're surrounded by nature, there's a beach here, everything looks great. You might as well visit Turkey. Why did you come here? Alyssa glanced at Masha blankly and started to dig into her plate. So? She pointed a fork at me. Fear not the fork, but the spoon. One blow and your skull is doomed. Now you tell me, is he even normal? Semyon is cute. Again, I'm not doing that. Sasha hugged my arm and nodded vigorously. What's the matter anyway? He just got us a free vacation. I don't understand what I'm even doing here. Well, it's not like anyone's holding you here, I said coldly. Yes, he is very cold. Oh, if only what I wanted mattered. And you, what are you doing all this time? You just keep nagging others, yet there's still a lot of time before your appearance according to the script. You must be preparing for the role, huh? I interrupted her. Maybe I am preparing. Double standard. Triple, damn it. So what are you doing for real? Well, what would you expect me to do? Me? Nothing, just curious. Reading books, she answered timidly. And every book about how to master acting. Stop it, okay? We're sitting out here, God knows where. No internet, no phone signal, nothing at all. If I hadn't brought the mosquito repellent with me, I brought it. Masha gave her such a look that Sasha suddenly started to take much less space than usual. I just don't get you. What's the point of complaining all the time? You could have stayed back home. Did I even ask you? Masha got up abruptly and headed for the exit. Masha is upset, said Sasha in a distressed tone. And even if she got upset just now, then wait until you see what she's going to be like towards the end of the shooting. The Pioneer Chainsaw Massacre with is both friendship and Russian, and fortunately a well-known brand of chainsaws. Ah, yes, perfect. Curiously enough, I really couldn't comprehend why Masha keeps freaking out. Sure, since the very beginning, she had no real enthusiasm for either the script or the whole idea of shooting our movie in a godforsaken pioneer camp. But still, she wasn't that aggressive. Maybe it's the heat that's to blame, or the grasshoppers. Sure, that's it, grasshoppers. Why is he so focused on insects? For the love of God. Yeah. More about grasshoppers. What are you thinking about the grasshoppers? What's wrong with them? Might as well ask what's right with them. Grasshoppers. They're not, I don't know, cute. Why? Well, they're so scary. You just don't like insects in general? Nope. Me either. A heavy silence fell. No matter what's going on in Masha's head, at least she can always keep the conversation going, even if it's just about the grasshoppers. Why is he still focused so much on creatures? I know more about grasshoppers. Olga approached our table. Ready for the night shooting? Night shooting? It's not like we've even completed the first scenes yet. And you also mentioned that you were done for the day. We have to make the maximum use of the time, or else we won't make it at all. I couldn't say that I was completely dead tired, and besides, I had to show at least a spark of commitment to the success of my own project. Alright, what are we shooting? The night scene with Slavya in the woods. Oh, sorry, hang on. First of all, runny nose. Second of all, not saying that. You get it. She's like, what? Well, I guess that one's more like a meme, so it's like, Nani? Oh, sorry, my nose is all running suddenly. That was weird. Anyway, Sasha heard that we were discussing her character and jumped in. Just please, began Olga in a strained voice, stick to the script this time. I'm not even going that. Said, stop that already. She gritted her teeth, turned around, and left us. What's that scene about? Haven't you read the script at all? Of course I haven't, said Alyssa proudly. I'm more than okay with just reading the scenes where I appear. I wasn't going to trouble her with meaningless talk about the necessity of getting the whole picture to fully understand one's character. I'm watching Slavya dancing by the side of the lake in the woods. It's so romantic. And she strips down in the process. She's like, what? She stared at me with a look of incomprehension. The meaning of my own words dawned on her after several moments. Strips? Relax, not completely. Well, if it's gonna be you, she blushed. Sure, it seems like this girl has not only been watching too much anime recently, but also is not the smartest one by birth. This guy is an asshole. Even worse than regular Semyon. Anyway, just why did Olga cast the characters like this? As for me, I'd rather cast Masha to play Slavya and Sasha as Miku. Why? Anyway, it's up to the director to decide, and Olga is the only director we have. By any chance, will there be that? What? Sasha gave Alyssa a blank stare. No. What do you mean? Nothing at all? Not in this scene. Ah, so you will be doing that later. Alyssa showed off a sharp grin. If it sparks your curiosity so much, you should go and read the script already. Nah, I'm not curious at all. Alyssa got up from the table. Okay, I'll be going. What was it all about? What is that? It's nothing. Go get yourself ready. The sun's already setting. Sasha got up and dashed to the exit. I finished my plate of potatoes and gave a heavy sigh. Well, at this rate, we won't manage to shoot even half a movie. I guess we can just put "to be continued" at the end and turn everything into an epic saga created by the students of a third-rate local cinema and television college. Suddenly, I understood that, really, I don't care anymore. Ready? I turned back and caught sight of Shurk. It's not like I have anything to prepare. Do you think you can manage these night shootings? Somehow. Let's get going then. It finally became colder in the evenings. Too cold, I'd say. I was sitting on a stump and trying to keep myself warm in my thin top, while others were aligning cameras and lights. Why should I be doing this stuff anyway? It's not like I even have a part in this scene. Masha was setting up a light reflector cloth between the trees. Who else? We're always short on manpower. Well, you could bring on more people for this. Everyone would have been happy to participate in the production of such a masterpiece. Are you complaining about something? Olga gave her a menacing look. Nothing at all. I'm fine. Our director was probably the only person here that Masha hesitated to argue with. I wonder why. Who knows? Shurk sat down next to me. What do you think? Any chance we'll get it in only 2 or 3 takes? I have no idea, but it's not like it depends on me. I nodded towards Sasha, who was jumping up and down energetically by the lakeside, warming up for her role. Ah, I see. Shurk heaved a doom sigh and headed to his camera. Alright, it's time. I hid myself behind a tree. Camera, action. Sasha walked past me almost dancing. I couldn't help noticing that given all this extra lighting, combined with the moonlight, she looked plain stupid. This guy is such an ass. But that's the cameraman's concern anyway, it's probably for the best. I slowly emerged from behind a tree and followed her. Sasha went slowly along the shoreline, almost hovering above the ground, taking off her neckerchief and unbuttoning her shirt on the way. In fact, it actually looked amazing. I bet she could have been a great actress of the silent cinema. Soon enough, Sasha disappeared into the woods. I took a few moments to space out at the shoreline and then started to follow her. Cut. Sasha immediately dashed back from behind the trees. So, how was it? Excellent. Perfect. If only you could perform like that every time, on the first take, then we would have it all finished in time. You're saying it, or like we're not going to make it on time. I noted skeptically. We'll make it, you bet. She's like, ahem. What do you mean, that's all? Masha suddenly appeared next to me as if out of nowhere. You wanted something else? We spent like 3 hours in preparation for only 1 minute of footage. It's cinema. Cinema, you know. Art. One can be hunting a single shot for years. You could keep shooting a 5-minute movie for decades. Olga looked particularly funny waving her arms like that. Sure, mumbled Masha in a wasted voice. That's it? Yep, that's it for tonight. Then good night, everyone. She threw that piece of reflector cloth to the ground and hastened off towards the camp. I quickly mumbled my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed a script printout, and rushed after her. Hey, I was at the square that I caught up with her. Oh, now what do you want? A look of extreme fatigue was on Masha's face. Maybe you want to take a short walk before we head off to sleep? Why would I? She glanced at me, apparently misunderstanding me. Well, it's so early. I bet you wouldn't even think of going to sleep at this time in the city. In the city? This isn't the city here, you know. Here 3 days count as one. Oh, come on, it's still early. Oh, fine. She gave me a bright look and smiled. Just not for too long. Ma'am, yes ma'am. Why do you carry that all the time? She pointed at the stack of paper I held in my hands. Well, you never know what might happen. Pff, whatever that means. Shortly thereafter, we arrived at the beach. What a lovely moon. Masha started to strip and dashed off towards the river. I don't know what I was expecting, because she had a bikini on underneath the pioneer uniform of hers. Fascinated, I stared as she paddled her legs in the water, which caused ripples to splash around her. So, you're still able to have fun, I shouted. She threw me an offended look, came closer, and sat down next to me. Yeah, it's like recently, all you think about is, I'm just an old hag. Of course you're not. But you're still one hell of a moaner. I guess I have my reasons. Not sure. I don't see any particular ones. Masha got up and moved several feet away from me. Why would you want to? How about you? I have a pretty crazy idea. How about you insult the girl who you just wanted to take a walk with? How about that? Oh, come on. Don't come on me. It's just one can't be such a what? You never see anything. She put her head down on her knees and added quietly. And you never understand. Yep, that's me. Cold-hearted, dumb, and dull. Yeah, that is him. Masha gave a barely audible laugh. Yep, exactly. Let's go swimming. It's cold in there. It won't take long. Oh, okay. The water was surprisingly warm, so indeed we were hardly going to freeze. I sat down at the towel that somebody had left behind and took a deep breath of the soft night air. Hey, we're having a moment, even though this guy's way more of a dick than even regular Semyon. Who would have thought that's possible? Masha lay in... to be honest, I'm actually starting to miss regular Semyon. It's weird. Masha lay in front of me and rested her head on my lap. Am I disturbing you? Not at all. I just felt kind of tired. She looked straight into my eyes, but I averted my gaze. Why can't it be all the same as before? How so? Come on. That was a joint decision, you know. But nevertheless, she put her arms around my waist, but I felt even more ill at ease. Why have we come here in the first place? To shoot a movie. I tried to put it off with a jest. Still, if it wasn't for you, I would have never gone to this college in the first place. We would have already... She sighed. But now... I still think that digging up the past in this context is hardly a good idea. You might think so. As for me, I still think that we shouldn't have. But you were the one who wanted it in the first place. I never wanted it, said Masha resentfully. Oh yeah? So it was me who insisted? Yes, it was you. She turned away but didn't get off me. Ah, so we were an item. But like there's this disagreement. I get it, alright? You're always like that. You're always like this. You don't like that. Or you don't like that. Why can't you just adopt a similar approach to life? Take a look around. It's a splendid summer. It's a beautiful night. We're shooting a remarkable movie. In fact, everything's great. Do you really believe all that yourself? Her question was indeed one worth asking. I do, kind of. It's not like everything's always ideal, but what's so bad about it? Everything is bad. She seemed ready to burst into tears. This stupid camp, that script of yours, everything is bad, and you're not a child anymore. You could have already started a family, gotten a job. Hey, we discussed it all like 1,000 times. Yeah, and broke up exactly because of that. That was all your call, mind. Precisely because of your everything is bad attitude. Oh, but you go like everything is great to make up for that. Only fools rejoice about everything around them. I'm not rejoicing, or rather, I'm rejoicing about things that are worth rejoicing about. I like my work. I find pleasure in films. Do I really? So that means you didn't find pleasure in me. She got up and leaned against my chest. Maybe we shouldn't... What's the matter? Don't you want to? I couldn't make up my mind on how I should reply. On the one hand, I didn't want to open old wounds, but on the other hand, I clearly understood that I'm not in a position to refuse. And by now, I didn't care if someone who might not be sleeping might see us. But why? What comes after? Who cares? Well, in that case... Alright, we're back. So, solid. Interesting little thing, though. Turns out there is nudity, but it's like not full frontal. They actually blur when it gets to a scene that's like super risque. They actually blur it if you believe it. So you know now you know. So the little dots are what you missed. Guess it's time to sleep. It's gonna be a rough day tomorrow. Olga will definitely push us hard. You get the idea. I slowly buttoning my shirt as I watch Masha dressing. I don't want to sleep alone, she murmured quietly. What, afraid of the grasshoppers? It's not the grasshoppers, it's the crickets. I'm not afraid of them. She averted her gaze and blushed a little. It's just, well, unusual. You might have got used to it given the amount of time. I suddenly thought that there's nothing wrong with this idea, especially given everything that's happened. Yeah, considering you guys just like got freaky on the beach, you know, just saying. Okay. Where? Masha gave me a questioning look. There are a couple of unoccupied cabins reserved for further scenes. Well, we could use these props for a while, I guess. Let's go. She smiled, got up, took my arm, and we slowly headed to the square. So there you go. Are we going to actually have to go through these actual days of shooting? Please tell me no. An irresistibly blinding morning glare struck my eyes. I wasn't able to stretch. Masha was sleeping on my left arm. I barely managed to pull my limb from under her head and massaged it for a long time, trying to restore the blood flow. Scratching my stubble, I reached for my shorts to find my cigarettes. Perhaps we shouldn't have gone that far yesterday after all. Now she definitely won't leave me alone. This guy is such an ass. Well, probably not. That's not in her nature. But a bad aftertaste will still remain. And now she has an argument to scold me with if I just give her one chance to. Yet another argument. It's not like she's short on them. Unable to find my cigarettes in my shorts, I thought that I must have left them behind in my cabin, so I clumsily dressed and went outside. Oh Lord, let it rain at last. It's impossible to work in such an oven. And it's like this day and night, night and day. Rubbing my eyes, I plodded down the trail and didn't notice somebody calling until they ran right into me. It was Router. Hi, Semyon. Hey there. I shouted after him. Finally, I came to the cabin, opened the door, and entered. Olga was inside. She drilled me with her gaze. Would you care to explain? What's the matter? Where did you spend the whole night? She looked more than menacing. I was with Masha. What's the problem? After all, everyone got it already, so it makes absolutely no sense to hide it. With who? Olga gave me a surprised glance. With Masha, I repeated calmly. We don't have any Mashas here. What the hell is happening? Is he back in like actual real camp, not in movie mode? What is happening? Now it's my turn to be surprised. Semyon, your behavior is unbecoming of a true pioneer. Are we shooting it already? Where are the cameras? I grinned. Semyon! Oh, come on. I headed to my bed and opened the drawer. However, my backpack wasn't there. Have you seen my backpack? A backpack? She looked at me in surprise. Yeah, it was here. But you arrived here without any luggage. What? I broke into a silly smile. And I still haven't finished yet. Olga, I get it that you're in the finest of moods this morning, and you have an eagerness to joke around, but how can I feel fine with a pioneer, a future, Komsomol member is acting like that? A pioneer? A Komsomol member? Something is definitely going wrong. Olga, have you slept well? Are you okay? How dare you speak to me like that? What's your problem? To sum it up, you need to be at the lineup in half an hour. As for me, I still need to find Miku. Miku? It looks like they just want to play a prank on us. Ma'am, yes ma'am. I saluted and marched out of the cabin. I have to go and tell Masha, share some laughter with her. I vigorously pushed the cabin's door open and ran in. Masha, you won't believe what they've... Masha was sitting at the corner of the bed with an absolutely pale face, wrapping her arms around her legs. So, a couple things. First of all, I was hesitating between those sentences because I thought I was going to walk in on her naked or something. That's the first reason. Second thing is, so apparently, so here's what I think is happening. So obviously, we were in the Pioneer camp at the beginning. Then you find out that that part is actually a movie that was shot by these people, but they're obviously not what they are in the quote-unquote movie. Okay, but then now Semyon from Movie World is actually in the actual Pioneer camp now. Okay, so that's what I think is happening. So we were in Pioneer Land, it was fake. Then we were in real life. Now we're back in Pioneer Land, but Semyon from Movie Land is now here. If you're following. Anyway, what happened? I leaped to her side. Lena just came in. Lena, but she wasn't planning to come for another 3 days. It wasn't our Lena. It was something that just looked like her. Masha was trembling and an expression of horror was on her face. Calm down, let's take it slowly. She was talking about some kind of a lineup, cleaning up the grounds, about the library, the music club. Her breathing became rapid. And it wasn't a joke, I'm sure of it. I recalled the recent conversation with Olga at once. Okay, so it looks like Masha from Movie Land is also here too. Okay, calm down, I still haven't got a thing. It wasn't our Lena, it was the Lena from your script. She raised her tear-filled eyes to me. I understood right away that this wasn't a joke, and my courage vanished. That's ridiculous, it just can't be. Though recalling the conversation with the director, No, no, I'm sure. She threw herself into my arms. I tried to calm her down. We have to think logically. We have to think logically. It's just them trying to pull a prank on us. That's all. I was just talking to Olga, and she's what? Also looked unusual to me? No, I can't say that to Masha. In the end, they'll have their laugh and then they'll quit it. No, something has happened. Something horrible. I'm sure of it. Masha was sobbing in my arms. Okay, let's get down to it. Let's talk to someone. For example, to Router. He surely isn't the main stand-up comedian in our mood. In our hood, I missed what he said. To tell the truth, at this point, I was interested myself in finding out what kind of joke this was. One that can bring Masha, who is always calm and prepared for everything, to hysterics. Okay. She wiped away her tears and got up from bed. Calm down now? I'm trying. Masha smiled faintly. Let's go. We left the cabin. This is not what I expected Miku's route to be like. Where to? Olga was talking about some kind of a lineup. Let's go to the square, and most likely they'll be there. Masha took my hand, but let it go right away. I chose not to look in her direction because I already knew what expression she had on her face, and just headed to the square. The lineup, if that is the right term for people flocking around the monument, was quite crowded. I didn't recognize even half the people here, and the fact was extremely strange on its own. Olga tried to line them all up. I chose not to linger and went up to her. Olga, you know... Oh, and Miku's here too, she interrupted me. Excellent, we'll talk after the lineup. What lineup are you talking about? Isn't this enough playing games? For God's sake, it's not funny anymore. She looked at me in confusion. What are you talking about? About that! Masha cautiously looked out from behind my back. Olga, it really isn't funny anymore. I don't understand you two. Let's seriously get back to the shooting. What shooting? I looked at her attentively and for the first time realized that perhaps she wasn't joking. Olga was never a decent actress, so I doubt about this expression of surprise and incomprehension was fake. What a mess. Okay, let's assume. Tell us your version. Version of what? She was still blinking her eyes while looking at my mouth. I got it. I grabbed Masha by her arm and headed away from the square. Hey, hold on. Where are you going? We'll have to find someone less insane. Olga's shouts followed us, but I didn't pay any attention. Soon enough, we reached the clubhouse. According to the script, it ought to be right here. Let's go. Masha didn't reply, just followed my lead. I opened the door abruptly and walked in. Router was there, just as I had expected. What's happening? Oh, Semyon, and you're not alone. Hey there, have you come here to join our club? It seemed that there was something wrong with him, too. Why aren't you at the lineup? I asked mischievously. Well, I've got something to finish here. Oh, whatever, just tell us what's going on here. Am I missing something? Just like Olga, he stared at me with no sign of understanding. Why the heck is everyone acting like we're real pioneers in a real pioneer camp? Isn't that the case? Is it? Well, actually, and what about the film? What film? The film, the one we're shooting, or the one we're filming. Semyon, I really don't understand what you're talking about. It's only now that I realize that everyone around is calling me Semyon. Well, Sasha was always calling me Semyon-kun too. But that was clearly a joke, while here, it's not a big thing, but my name is definitely not Semyon. I stepped back in horror and tripped over Masha. She let out a short scream. And you, Miku. I wasn't listening. I snatched Masha's hand and ran out. I managed to halt only at the bus stop. As I turned around, I saw Masha gasping for breath. I let go of her hand and sat down on the edge of the road. It looks like the two of us are in trouble. Don't you get it? Everyone here behaves exactly the same as it was written in my script. She stared blankly at me for some time and then she recovered. Yeah, a fair guess. But what? Why? Like I would know. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. Masha was on the edge of bursting into tears. Oh, stop it. I really have no idea. How can I come up with ready-made solutions in this situation? I understand, but after all, there's still a possibility of it all being a silly joke. Oh, shut up. Well, an overdone one. But what if... Well, then we'll act in accordance with the circumstances. I sighed and quickly stood up. Let's go eat something at least. I think that whatever's happening here, food will still be served. Masha gave a barely noticeable smile and followed me. The canteen was jam-packed. Even at the lineup, I noticed that there were more people than there were yesterday. Did all these children really come here to an abandoned camp? No, there's something really wrong about that. However, food was still being distributed, so me and Masha took trays and sat down separately from the others. I ate intently, trying not to raise my head up from the plate and not to look at the surrounding people. However, it didn't help me much. In a couple of minutes, someone showed up near our table. I barely managed to raise my eyes and saw Lena. Can I? She asked quietly. Yeah, suit yourself. While I was thinking as to how I should answer, Masha pulled out a chair beside her and invited Lena to sit down with a gesture. You weren't yourself this morning, she began anxiously. Well, got up on the wrong side of the bed. Masha laughed nervously. Lena glanced at me and then quickly looked away. So, how's it going? I started with more general questions. Fine. I see. I genuinely had no idea of what can we discuss with her. Plus, Lena indeed looked pretty odd. Like she was, while she usually was all fun and high spirits, now she looked extremely timid and shy. Did you hear anything about Slavya? What happened? Well, no one has seen her since yesterday. It's like you two disappeared first. Now we're here, but Slavya is. She left long pauses after each of her sentences. I still didn't get it. Either it's completely perfect acting, or the being sitting in front of us wasn't our Lena. Nope, we haven't seen her. Well, I hope she'll be back eventually. Yeah, we hope so too. Slavya. Sasha indeed could lose her way in broad daylight. That's hardly surprising. I was just finishing eating the rubber-like oatmeal when suddenly Olga ran into the canteen waving her hands. She looked around emotionlessly, and after a glance at me, she finally headed towards our table at a fast walk. Oh, here you are. Let's go have a talk. She hissed below her breath right at my face. Seeing that objecting wasn't worth it, so I got up, nodded to Masha, and we headed after Olga. After we got outside, she turned around abruptly and said, "So, where were you last night?" "Should you care?" I shrugged. "I should. Did you know that Slavia is missing?" "Just heard that from Lena." "Exactly. I went searching for her and found her. It looked like she was desperately fighting back tears." "That's good news then." "Come, let me show you," she said quietly and headed in the direction of the forest. I looked at Masha. "Maybe we shouldn't? What's wrong with it?" However, my inner voice was agreeing with her. "All right then, but I'm afraid. Everything will be fine." I tried smiling, but even without a mirror, it was obvious that my smile was so fake that it made me sick. Soon enough, we came to a small glade. There. Olga pointed at a tree. What is happening? I took a few steps and suddenly spotted a detached human arm. It wasn't even detached, more like it had been torn off. Hang on a minute. Oh, there it is. Look at that, guys, a human arm. Did you like how they go black and white and stuff, so that way you can, it's less intense? Masha peered out from behind my shoulder and screamed in terror straight away. "Don't look." She burst into tears and rushed into Olga's arms. I made a considerable effort. I had to look behind the tree to ensure that it was indeed Slavya. Body parts were lying there, an arm, a leg, ruptured in several places, a piece of flesh from the chest, a head from hair clotted with blood, and deeply sunken glassy eyes. I felt like vomiting and instinctively averted my gaze. So, not only was that an arm, I just noticed that was the top of Slavya's head, by the way. Or Sasha, whatever her name was. Or, well, no, it was Slavia, because obviously we're back in Pioneerland. "Who did this?" "How would I know?" said Olga in a surprisingly stone-cold voice. "Throughout the camp, you're the only ones without an alibi." Masha continued to cry, now on my shoulder. "What, you seriously think we were able to do this?" I gazed at her in fury. Now it didn't matter that what was happening here. Silly jokes or something more serious. A person had been murdered. A person who we knew. Slavia or Sasha, it makes no difference. Well, no. She hesitated. But someone did it after all. I would say some wild animals, probably wolves. There are never any wolves around. So you think a human could have done it? Well, there's no one else to blame. No, that makes no sense at all. It just can't. I hugged Masha tighter. Her sobbing became quieter. Anyway, we have to call the police. Of course we have to. Let's go. Well, didn't expect that. There's been murder. Like, this route is not what I expected. The district center is pretty far from the camp. The police won't get here anytime soon. Night was falling. I was sitting at the square and watching the sunset. Masha was sleeping in Olga's cabin. It all shocked her much more than us, for many reasons. There were two main questions in my mind. First, what is happening here? And second, who murdered Slavya? Or Sasha. Anyway, who's the murderer? The first one could be postponed for the time being, but I still had no clue about how to deal with the second one. Despite all the confusion, the conclusion of her being savaged by wild, I would say maybe ravaged by wild beasts seemed to be the most reasonable explanation. I don't care if there are any wolves here, or not. It could even be a bear or a badger. Not badger, like a big-ass badger the size of a building, but certainly not a human. No one would be able to do something like that without additional tools, and the type of wounds made it clear that the unfortunate victim had been dismembered with bare hands or paws. Although it's true enough that an enraged human can gain nearly superhuman strength. But of all the people gathered here, who would be able to do something like that? Router, Lena, maybe Olga herself? No, that's stupid. But even so, there are many children apart from them in the canteen and at the square. But am I really going to interrogate every single one of them? That's a job for the police. Then what's there to be afraid of? Maybe I'm not afraid for myself, but for Masha. Right, I need to check how she's doing. I was just about to get up when suddenly I sensed someone's presence. I looked back and saw Lena. Oh, I didn't want to scare you. It's okay. Can I sit here? Yeah, sit down, please. She fixed her skirt with a neat move, sat down, and started staring at the sunset. How sad this all is. Yeah, not much to rejoice about. What do you think? Who could have done that? How should I know? Certainly not me. No, it's not like I suspect you or anything. She began waving her hands in a funny manner. Well, thanks for that, I smirked sadly. But that must have been done by a very cruel, very evil person. Well, not necessarily. Lena glanced down in confusion, or glanced at me in confusion. Maybe it was a one-off delusion. After all, in everyday life, maniacs can be the nicest of people. So you're saying that her eyes widened and her jaw dropped a little. Could it have been by any one of us? Well, I'm not asserting that, that's for sure, but the circle of suspects is quite large. No, none of the children could do that. No one. Anyway, it's up to the police to deal with it. We spent some more time sitting in silence. I was about to leave when Lena suddenly whispered, or could you? What? An unnatural grin appeared on her face. A devil's grin, so I thought. Could you have murdered Slavya? Of course not. But you two didn't get along very well. Why do you think so? We were getting along just fine. It suddenly became clear that Lena, most likely, is not talking about me. More precisely, not the me from yesterday. And not the Slavya whose name is Sasha. I was sure about that. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't me. Okay, relax. I'm not accusing you. She gave me a look, and for a second, her eyes seemed red to me. Maybe it was just a reflection of the sunset. Glad you got everything right. But it was you who said that everyone is worth suspecting. I didn't tell you to suspect everyone. I meant that we don't know who the criminal is, yet. Oh, I see. Well, I hope I don't become the next victim, Lena said loudly and burst out laughing. The way she did it gave me the creeps. Yeah, I think it's her. Okay, it's time to go. She does give me, like, freaking, Yandere, creepy serial killer vibes. Of course, she gave me that in her route, too, and no one died there. Just saying. She got up and swiftly left the square. I chose not to linger and headed to Olga's cabin. But it was now completely dark. Masha was still sleeping, so I decided not to wake her and quietly climbed in next to her. Our director, or the camp leader, as the local residents kept referring to her, was still nowhere to be seen. If she enters now, it will all get very uncomfortable. Well, it might at the very least. Anyway, who cares? A person has been murdered. It's not the time for such trifles. And anyway, we still have to find out what's going on. Why does everyone keep acting like they are pioneers? It seems to me that until it becomes clear who the real criminal is, this whole ridiculous carnival won't stop. The real question is, what is the cause and what is the effect? Either everyone keeps pretending because Slavya was murdered, I still couldn't accept that Sasha was the victim, so I kept referring to myself that it was indeed Slavya, or Slavya was killed because everyone keeps pretending. Damn it, I got lost entirely, and such brainstorming is not going to get me anywhere. The door creaked faintly. Cautiously, I rose on my elbows a bit and peered into the darkness. A few torturous moments passed, but ultimately no one came in. Well, I guess it's no use to lie down and wait. Right now, it's probably just the wind blowing or something like that, but this late at night, when everyone's asleep, I stood up, grabbed my trousers in the dark, and looked around. It was hardly probable that I might find something that I could be used as a means of self-defense here, but at least I had to give it a try. Rummaging through the cabinet's contents, I stumbled upon a locked drawer inside the cabinet. Sure, I'd love to find a gun or at least some kind of heavy crowbar there. However, I totally understood that I really shouldn't hold my breath for one. But it had to be locked for a reason. I pushed for the cabinet from the wall, estimated where exactly on the back the drawer was, and gave it a sharp and precise, so I would not wake Masha up, kick with my leg. That was pretty smart. The plywood cracked, and some things spilled forth from the drawer. Underwear. More underwear. Matches. They might come in handy. I shoved the matchbox into my pocket, and at the same moment I heard some strange noises from outside the door, as if some wild animal was scratching on it. Surely, if this was a real criminal, I wouldn't stand a chance against him. But one shouldn't shrug off the possibility that it was the work of a local pioneer, who may have gone crazy or was just insane from the start. Anyway, I should still be able to knock out any of the local residents, even if he came at me with a knife. Thinking about a weapon gave me the creeps. No, I shouldn't be so overconfident. If I get into an encounter with someone who is, for example, armed with a knife, then I must shut the door, barricade all the entrances, and wait for help. You probably couldn't get a hold of a firearm here, although... The door creaked open once more and opened up about an inch. I closed my eyes for a second and violently pulled it open, gathering all my strength. I heard a choked scream and saw Alyssa spread eagled on the doorstep. Oh, it's just you. I heaved a sigh of relief. Don't scare people like that. You want to give me a heart attack? She got up, dusted her clothes off slowly, and gave me a smile guiltily. Sorry. It's fine. It's just it could be dangerous to walk alone around the camp at night with all the stuff that's happening. I stopped short. Happening implies an ongoing process, as if something was still going to happen. I mean, happened. That's why I came. Alyssa was looking at the ground and trembling slightly. It's already late, but Oyana is still nowhere to be seen. She raised her eyes to me, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. Where could she have gone? It wasn't like I was really concerned, but I asked because I felt like I had to calm the situation. Yeah, of course I don't care. She could be dead. Who cares? It was perfectly clear that there's absolutely nothing to do with this camp at night. If there's electricity available, then everyone watches movies on their laptops. If not, then they just read books by candlelight. Wandering under the moon shouldn't be on that list. I don't know. Okay, let's think this through without any fuss. I walked over to the table and picked up the clock. It's midnight. Sure, everyone should be already at their cabins by this time. A scary thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Where's Olga? Let's go outside and talk there. Don't want to wake up Miku. As we went out, I took a place by the stairs and started to think. Alyssa stood beside me, wriggling her hands with a pained look on her face as she watched the full moon rise. We have to call the police. We've already called them. But back then it was only Slavya. Now it's also Olyana. And Olga. Have you seen her? No, but what, is she too? Alyssa burst into tears. We still don't know anything, but nevertheless, it's clear that something's going on here. Even if they're just not just pretending to be pioneers, and something really has happened in the world, right now I could have quite a good chance of departing from it without getting any answers for my questions. So I had to focus on survival. Survival. The word hit like a sharp pain in the back of my head. Survival. Just yesterday, I didn't need to give the slightest consideration to anything like that. The quiet summer night was raining over everything around us. Yeah, it's night, we get it. Just the reflection of the moonlight in the cabin's windows, sparse clouds in the sky, again more descriptions about night, and of course bugs. Bugs. It's like his fetish or something. As if they're constantly on duty as the day shift winds up and the night shift who's got enough sleep begins. That's how bugs work, pal. There's always bugs. Oh my god. Like, just going on and on about bugs. Wait a minute, soon he's gonna get off the whole bugs things. Alright, can you hear it? Alyssa sat down and huddled up against me. Her entire body was trembling. What? I strained my ears. It seemed that somebody was slowly walking down the path to our cabin. I couldn't make anything out in the dark, but the steps grew more and more audible with every second. Okay, don't sweat it. He won't dare to attack the two of us. Although I really wasn't sure about that. My hands instinctively started to reach for something I could use to defend myself. Hey. Sorry. Soon enough, I found a piece of water pipe underneath the bench. It's not much help, of course. It's way too thick and uncomfortable to wield properly, but it's still better than going out empty-handed. The mere sight of this monstrosity would make anyone pee themselves, most likely from laughter. There's nothing I can do. We're as good as sitting ducks here, so I'd rather move out towards the enemy. I agree. I couldn't say that I was bursting with courage and valor. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was really freaking out. It just seemed that I had no other choice. I took a deep breath and slowly headed into the darkness. Soon enough, I could make out more features of the stranger's silhouette. Not very tall, weird hairstyle, a skirt. That ought to be Lena. I lowered my guard. What are you doing here this late at night? Lena's face was stained with tears. Come on. I led her to Alyssa. As Lena was coming back to her senses, she tried to explain what happened. I was just sitting alone, and it's already quite late, and Miku's still missing, and what happened to Slavya, and I just couldn't reconcile this image of Lena, a sobbing girl sitting in front of me, with the one that I saw at the square a few hours ago with a grin of the devil and hellish flames in her eyes. Again, I think it's Lena, dude. I think Lena's the killer because she's pretty crazy. Even in her route, she seems crazy. So in this one, where there's actually death, she's probably the murderer. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe not. By any chance, do you know where Olyana and Olga are? She raised her surprised eyes at me. No, why? Are they also missing? Well, as far as we can't be sure. Semyon, at first I didn't realize that she was addressing me. Huh? Don't you think that it's way too quiet in the camp? It's night. Everyone's sleeping, aren't they? I strained my ears. Indeed, there were no sounds beside these damn grasshoppers. I mean, no sounds whatsoever. What is this place usually like? Quiet, whispered Lena. Quiet, but not this quiet. I couldn't let the girls fall into panic, although I was starting to freak out myself. Yet there were a lot of reasons to. Humans disappearing into thin air, horrible monsters, friends that pretend to be pioneers until the very end. I was ready to lose it. Okay, let's think rationally. The girls gave me a few questioning looks. People can't just disappear without a trace. That means... Nope, it doesn't mean anything. Suddenly, we heard a rustle in the bushes behind the cabin. Before I could even grab my pipe, Router emerged from the darkness. Ah, here you are. He didn't seem to be all concerned by all the stuff happening around. Oh, Lord, stop jumping out at people like that. The girls are going to have a heart attack at this rate. Although I wasn't sure who was more frightened, them or me. Yeah, I apologize. Why have you come? Have you seen Shurik? We haven't. It looks like half of the camp just disappeared in the last few hours. Plus, it's too quiet around here. We noticed that already. There's no light anywhere. Dead silence. Oh, don't you start whipping up the tension here. I feel sick already. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. He flashed a mysterious smile that gave me the creeps. Okay, you stay here, and I'm going to scout around the camp. Alone? Yeah, that probably wasn't exactly the brightest idea. I had to think first and speak. I'll go with you. Okay, then you just stay here. Don't forget about Miku is still sleeping in the cabin. Sir, yes, sir. What a dork. If he gave me that, don't be smiling in the other situation. It's like, yeah, okay, Lena and it's Router in the other world, and this one it's Electronic. Anyway, Electronic, you guys watch the cabin, at least in groups. At least there's about to be odds, even if one of them is the killer. At least two of them will at least they'll be outnumbered, right? About half an hour later, our search brought us to the square. All the cabins were empty. It looks like there were only the 5 of us left in the camp. I limped along with that pipe of mine. It appeared to be so lightweight at first, but after carrying it for some time, I have learned that one can get worn out even carrying a bag of feathers. Only you delicate pansy. Where on earth is everyone? Alyssa appeared to be more or less calm. The horror of the first murders, when we were going from one empty cabin to another, had already passed. Well, at least we can be sure that it's not the same case as whatever happened to Slavya. Why is that? Well, just think. Where are the bodies? I said in a whisper, fearful of scaring her. But where is everyone then? Disappeared? Hardly a credible explanation. But if you think about it, nothing whatsoever that's happened during the last 24 hours has been credible. They couldn't just go and just like that. It's not like anything's up to us now, and in any case, tomorrow is still another day. I tried to put on a smile. Let's rejoin the others. Yeah. Agreed to listen without a hint of indecisiveness. We'd only taken a few steps when a rustle of the bushes came from behind. I instantly turned around and peered towards the source of the sound. Alyssa clung to my hand so hard it hurt, and I tightened my grip on the pipe. Who's there? No idea. I strained my eyes, but still couldn't make out anything in the darkness. Hey! I had no idea what to do next. The rustling suddenly cut off, and the night returned to just the usual cricket fiddling. Could it be some wild animal? I wondered with a feeling of insecurity. Wild animal? She gripped my hand even tighter. But there's no wild animals around here. A squirrel example? I don't know. A squirrel? Yeah, a squirrel. Well, maybe. Shall we go? Yeah. Who knows? A minute later, we were approaching Olga's cabin. Router and, Electronic and Lena remained silent and just shuddered slightly when they saw us. So, how is it? No one out there. What do you mean, no one? Everyone's gone, said Alyssa through tears. The girls rushed into each other's arms, and I sat down next to Electronic, finally dropping the abhorrent pipe of mine to the ground. It's just that simple? It's just that simple. But how? I really don't know. Maybe it's an alien abduction? What nonsense. You want to play Detective Sherlock? Well, it could be the same maniac. It's kind of way too much for just one man. Don't you think so? I guess you're right. But what is it then? It still could turn out to be just a stupid prank. And Slavya too? Is that just a stupid prank? No, she was definitely murdered by someone. But who? He gave me a narrow gaze. I have no idea. Maybe it was you. I was starting to get wound up. Or you. Not me for sure. How can you prove it? Why on earth should I have to explain myself to you? You're the only one without an alibi. Ah, so you do have an alibi, huh? I was in my cabin at night. Sure, it can prove it. Sure, but Shurek's temporarily unavailable. Electronic gritted his teeth and turned away. Anyway, I'm the one with an alibi here, and I'm not gonna justify myself here. I'm sure about myself. It's great to believe in yourself. I'm also sure about myself, and Miku can prove me right. I was with her all the time. Not exactly the best witness. Just as good as yours. I have no idea how long we could have argued like that if Lena hadn't intervened in the conversation. Boys, come on, that's enough. You're right, sorry. Yeah. Indeed, now is not the best time for something like this. We gotta unite, people! Like, stick together! There's murderers and death here! Anyway, we should stick together. See, exactly. Would it help keep us from disappearing? Asked Alyssa timidly. I'm not sure about all the disappearance stuff, but at least it should help us to stay alive. I glanced at my watch, almost 4 o'clock. The sun will be rising soon. Okay, squad, time to hit the hay. We're gonna end up totally wiped out. But, no buts. Nobody else tried to object, and we entered the cabin quietly. Huh? What's happening? Seems like we woke Masha up. It's okay, keep sleeping. But she was already sitting up on the bed and staring blankly at our little party. Well, you see, they're all gone. Disappeared. Everyone's gone. Lena burst into tears and flung her arms around Masha's neck. What? What's going on? Can you speak clearly? Well, long story short, I cracked my neck and compulsively reached for the cigarettes in my pocket. Finding none, I heaved a sigh of frustration and said, "It looks like there's just 5 of us left in this camp." Meeting everyone in the room. Rejoice, Captain Obvious has returned. You're gonna keep watch first. Huh? Oh, nothing. Do you really think that it's safe for everyone to sleep at the same time? Well, it isn't, but exactly. I handed him the pipe and slowly approached the bed where Lena was still sobbing in Masha's arms. Well, if you don't mind. I slipped my boots off, climbed over the girls, and turned towards the wall. But how? Anyhow, sleep. I was so exhausted, both physically and more importantly emotionally, that I was able to do anything, think anything, communicate with anybody. I was desperate to get some sleep. Way too desperate. Masha's whispers, Lena's sobs, Alyssa's voice, all that was somehow melted in one quiet lullaby, and so I fell asleep. And I woke up with a knife in my face. No. Anyway, we'll see. I was forcibly awakened by someone doing their best to shake me. Physically shake me. That is, electronic, was leaning over me and nudging my shoulder. What? It's your turn now. How long have I slept? About an hour. Only an hour? Stay on your watch. I'm already dozing off. Yeah, an infinite power source wouldn't hurt for our electronic, although it wouldn't hurt for me too. Oh, fine. I rose with considerable effort, climbed over Lena and Masha, who slept with their arms around each other, and jumped down to the floor. The floor seemed slightly brighter. The morning's coming. Yeah. Ryder tried to get to my place, but I grabbed him by the collar, threw him down on the floor, and gave him a blanket and a pillow. So you can, and you cannot. Yeah, he's like, I slept next to them, but you can't. He's like, everyone belongs to me. That's why I'm very excited for the harem ending. Then everyone actually will. Come to think about it, why can't he? Anyway, it's not that important now. I took the chair, dragged it to the door, sat down, and started to wait. Anticipation seemed to be the best word to describe what I was feeling. Any moment now, the door will burst open and a maniac will break into the room, or the last residents of the camp will disappear. Or I will disappear. In any case, something will happen. I deeply felt that. Router was snoring his head off, the girls were sleeping securely, and I was starting to doze off too. I clenched the pipe harder, the feeling of cold metal against my bare skin somehow brought me back to my senses. I must not sleep. I'm their only hope now, and my own too. I would stand up would be a good start. But it's so hard to resist, just a couple of minutes. What an idiot. Yeah, if you really want to stay awake, first of all, stand up, okay? If you're sitting, if you're tired enough that sitting is starting to doze you off, stand up and pace. At least you'll be awake. My eyes seemed to have a life of their own, opening and closing spontaneously as my mind wandered. A rustling came from behind the door. No, I must have imagined it. It's just those damn grasshoppers. What are they still up to? Oh my god, he's still going on about the bugs, for the love of all that is holy. I'm not even going on it. He's still talking about bugs. More bugs. Alright, I think he fell asleep. At least he stopped talking about the bugs. That's how it happens. I'm running away and they're after me. There are thousands of them. Millions. Alright, again, yep, we're still talking about bugs. Alright. Yep, alright, keep it going. He had a dream about bugs. I'm not describing all the bugs. We get it. He hates grasshoppers. I was awoken by a sharp pain in the back of my head. Opening my eyes, I realized that I was lying sprawled on the floor. It looks like that I fell asleep and slipped off my chair. It was 9 o'clock. God damn it, it looks like I was sleeping for 5 hours straight. Anything could have happened. Horrified, I patted myself down and everything seemed to be in place. Huh, that was close. I shook our squad awake. My turn already? You sleep too much. I've been sitting here all night long. Sure, that was a lie, but telling them that I spent the night running for my life from the grasshoppers definitely wasn't an option. Sorry. Electronic hung his head. Don't worry about it. Oh, I'm hungry as hell. Masha stretched out and gave me a cute smile. And why are you still here? Don't you remember anything? No? What's the matter? Everyone's gone, said Alyssa gloomily. Say what? Everyone's gone, vanished into thin air. Masha glanced out the window and said nothing. Seems like she remembered now. Well, getting something to eat is indeed a fine idea. No one was going to object. It's not like I was in the mood to eat, same as everyone else, but ultimately everyone knew that we had to keep ourselves running. It's true. You need that car to run. You need some fuel. Soon enough, we were sitting in the canteen, quietly digging into whatever we could find, while there were 35 pioneers all hanging from the ceiling. No, sorry. You want me to cook something? Inquired Masha quietly. Let's wait for lunch, and now it's fine. She gave me a disappointed look. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We have to get out of here. But the police. We have to get out of here. I repeated stubbornly. But how? Bus. It's highly unlikely that one will come. It doesn't run too often. At least there should be a timetable somewhere around here. I tried to remember, but if I've ever seen the bus map or its timetable somewhere. Probably not. Then we'll go on foot. Anything's better than staying here. But it's a long way. Well, we might hitch a lift. Here in the middle of nowhere? I doubt that. I'll stop with the drama. Although thinking about it, it's exactly the right time for drama. I'm not being dramatic, but that's it. End of story. What are we gonna say when we reach the city? We'll tell them the truth. We came to shoot a movie, and then... What movie? Okay, stop fooling around, will ya? I buried my face in my hands, feeling run down. Even if it was kind of funny yesterday, although it really wasn't, you can stop it now. I don't get what you... Oh, you're gonna keep on pretending until you came here, not to shoot a movie, but to play a role play as a pioneer. He really should let it go. He's not there anymore. Suck it up. I don't understand a thing. Alyssa swept her surprised gaze across everyone. But we are pioneers. What pioneers, for God's sake? Masha, who had kept silent so far, butted in. It's the 21st century out here. Yeah, right, pioneers. 21st? It looks like we're indeed in a deep mess. So you're all gonna say that you are, well, we are normal pioneers who just came here on vacation for a week or so? A heavy silence followed. Well, yeah. I cast a look at Masha. It looks like she doesn't know how to react either. I signal to her, pointing at the door. Excuse us for a second. Having gone outside, I asked, what do you think? Well, she adopted the pose of the ancient Greek thinker. It looks like they genuinely believe it, and some folks named Semyon and Miku were in our shoes until yesterday. Some, well, I guess you're more familiar with them than I am. Oh, come on, I interrupted her. Couldn't you come up with a more feasible story? I still have absolutely no theories at all, and I no longer know what to think. Me either. Anyway, all hell is breaking loose here, even without taking pioneers into account. Murders, dozens of people disappearing without a trace. This ought to be our top priority now. I look closely at Masha. I wonder how she could keep such a cool head under these circumstances. Sure, I'm also trying to keep calm, but I'm also in denial about where I am, which is totally helping. That means what? Let's leave this issue for later. But at least a wild guess? I guess it's somehow connected to the disappearances. It's safe to assume that one, or even two or three, humans couldn't deal with so many people at once. Agreed. It might be that this phenomenon somehow affected them. Might be. Anyway, it's easier to believe in that than, for example, that we're in a parallel reality or something. You know, by now I'm willing to believe in anything. Then let's stick to this theory for now, okay? Let's go? You go ahead. I'll be back in a minute. It's dangerous to go all alone. Seriously, what's so dangerous? Broad daylight and everyone's around here. Okay. I hope you come back and they're all dead, because you deserve it. She gave me a faint smile and headed back to the canteen. And still, her behavior is also quite odd. It looks like the last few days changed everything and everyone, including Masha. Yesterday, shock, fear, and trembling. Today, cold and sensible reasoning. Damn, she's even more self-assured than me. Could it just be good sleep? No, there's something wrong with her too. Sure, she doesn't think that she's a pioneer like everyone else does, but still, if something has happened to him, then maybe it also happened to me. No, it can't be. Everything seems to be fine. I've double-checked my body and found no abnormalities. Okay, I have to keep calm and control myself. I got up and was about to return to the canteen when suddenly I heard a tiny voice from behind my back, as if somebody was calling for me. I got down from the porch and took a few steps towards the voice. Somebody was peering at me from behind a tree. What in the hell? It was Ilyana. No, not Ilyana, but something that looked like her. I froze in my tracks. Half of her face was torn and hanging down in shreds. What the hell? Her grinning jaw trembled nervously as if in laughter. A bloodshot eye hanging half out of its socket. What the hell? Suddenly swiveled its pupil to look at me. I stopped breathing. It felt like I was gonna die right now due to the shock. Semyon. The thing that seemed to be Ilyana was calling for me. My legs began to give out. I tried hard not to collapse, tried to scream, tried to run away, but my consciousness had already left a body that now was just a rag doll, moving by the will of an invisible puppet master. One more second and... Hey! I instinctively turned towards the caught sight of Masha standing on the porch, and then instantly looked back at Ilyana, but she was gone. Masha seemed to notice the deathly pallor on... I think it's how you say that, upon my face and jumped over to me in the blink of an eye. What? What happened? I just saw Ilyana there. I pointed my finger towards the tree. Sure, the sight of the butchered Slavya was indeed gruesome, but at least she was dead and not walking around in some broad daylight with her face torn apart, and she wasn't calling me by name, even if the name wasn't my own. The last ounces of my strength deserted me, and I collapsed to my knees. What? Where? Masha was shaking me by the shoulders. It wasn't her. That was... I don't know. Get a hold of yourself. I felt a round arm slap hit me in the face, and Masha gave me a questioning look. My cheek burned, but I slowly started to regain my composure. Man, what a baby. Ilyana was there with her face. I like how he just stood there like an idiot. He's just, I'm gonna die. Let's just freeze. I guess I just don't get that. When things get serious, historically, I've always reacted. I don't know. I don't get it. Whatever. The other interesting thing I want to point out is this ending. It doesn't say Miku happy ending. It just says Miku/Masha ending. So it doesn't mean this is gonna end happily. By the way, just wanted to let you know. Anyway, honestly, I'm all kind of looking forward to it. I kind of would love to see everyone just get killed for once. Kind of be done with Semyon's stupidity, or whoever this guy is. Yeah, right. He's dead. Whatever. Masha looked at me dumbfounded. Anything can happen here. If you'd seen it yourself, thank God I didn't. Come on, I'll get you some water. I described my encounter with that creature in detail to everyone. I can tell you one thing. Science can't explain whatever is going on here at the moment. Science? It's outrageous devilry happening here. The hand of Satan. I wish we had a church nearby to light a candle. Lena said nothing, resorting to quiet sobbing. I'd almost completely recovered, and now I was able to think straight. Now it's perfectly clear that we have to get out of here. Well, I'm not a real scientist, let alone a paranormalist, but if I recall it correctly, all these demons and spirits are bound to a certain place. Therefore, if we get away from this place... Now that's an excellent solution. Masha grinned skeptically. I agree, I exclaimed, ignoring her. Yeah, Lena just gave a barely noticeable nod. So it's all settled. I slammed my fist on the table and surged to my feet. Hold on, it's not like we all agreed on that. Why would we hesitate? I seriously wouldn't want a second encounter with a thing like that. Where will we go? Do you even realize how long it will take to reach the city on foot? Damn it, do you really think that no one ever rides that road? A car, a bus, whatever. We'll get something eventually. I wouldn't be so sure. Do you think that it's better to stay here? Well, I didn't say that. It's scary here, especially at night, Lena whispered quietly. That still doesn't mean that we have to go anywhere, said Masha out loud. I gave her a narrow look. No, something had surely changed in her. Perhaps I should have a gentle talk with her about it. Or perhaps I shouldn't? Maybe she's also... Okay, let's take a vote. I said that in quite a confident tone, yet I still had my doubts. What if Masha's right? Perhaps we shouldn't be running around aimlessly? On the one hand, I have no idea what awaits us beyond the gates of the camp. On the other hand, it's really all hell breaking loose here. Okay, she shrugged. And still, I won't stand for another minute here. Leaving. Staying. Let's try it. Maybe we'll indeed get lucky and catch a ride. Leaving. Everyone turned their eyes towards Lena. I don't want to stay here. It seemed like my decision wasn't going to affect the outcome anyway. Oh, so let's get going. Well, I sprang to my feet. Everyone else remained seated with their heads down. Since we decided, Masha got up slowly and looked at me. What about our stuff? Asked Alyssa awkwardly. Do you really think that we should care now? Mumbled Electronic gloomily. Well, you're probably right. Well, in my case, my stuff had already vanished somewhere. In a few minutes, we were standing at the bus stop. The city's that way. Masha gestured at the horizon. It was there the day before yesterday, I grinned. Yeah, that way. Electronic confirmed. We paused in silence for a few moments, then slowly headed off towards our destination. The summer sun was unbearably scorching, making the asphalt melt. Everything a few hundred feet away, the road, the trees, the grass, the sky, was melting in a bright heat haze that looked more like a burning fog. I was streaming with sweat and was starting to think that I was getting sunstroke. Sure, it would have been a great idea to bring some more water with us, but back when we were setting out, only thing we could think of was getting our asses as far as possible from the damn camp. Eventually, I felt like I was about to lose consciousness. Only the wretched trails of the oh god, again with the grasshoppers. Yep, alright, grasshoppers. Alright, the sound of a stifled cry came from behind me. 100 feet away, Alyssa was barely holding up Lena, keeping her from collapsing to the ground. I dashed up to him. What's the matter? She fainted. I helped to carry Lena to the roadside. There was at least some shade from a small grove. And that concludes our hike, said Masha in a gloomy mood, sinking down to the grass. I warned you. Fine, but what does it change now? We've been traveling for at least a couple of hours, so thinking of heading back to the camp was pointless. At least until the evening when the heat will decrease a bit, and we still haven't seen a single car. I turned around and looked at Electronic. He pulled off his shirt and began to wring the sweat out of it. Alyssa was trying to revive Lena. If that's sunstroke, stop, she shouted at me. If that's indeed sunstroke, we've gotten ourselves in deep trouble. She won't make it anywhere. I walked towards the road, shielded my eyes from the sun with my hand, and stared into the distance. Nothing but the same asphalt thread leading beyond the horizon, with no signs of civilization, or any signs of human presence at all. It was like we were the only people left, not only in the camp, but the whole world. Although if you think about what has happened before, it's really not a big surprise. I went back to the others and sat down on a log. I guess we have to scout ahead. I looked at Electronic, to check what's ahead. Maybe we could find something, and you could just stay here for a while. But she can't go anywhere right now anyway. Lena was lying with her eyes closed and gasping for air. Okay, go ahead, said Masha calmly. It just occurred to me that I'd planned to have a talk with her, but it's definitely not the time for that now. Let's go? Electronic shrugged his shoulders and followed me. We kept walking for about 15 minutes. The girls were left far behind. What do you think? Any chances of us meeting somebody? He asked quietly. I don't know. I replied in an annoyed tone. I really wanted to refrain from talking now. The endless fields stretched to the horizon, sparsely sprinkled with patches of trees and hills. The landscape looked so typical and tranquil that in fact it caused anxiety. If we found ourselves in the plains of hell, at least we would expect to be attacked from just anywhere, so we could brace ourselves and prepare for the worst. Now we felt just like little droplets of whatever. Yeah, we felt like something, and all this made our fear stronger. Look, yelled Router. I narrowed my eyes and saw that the road took a turn. So what's so special? There must be something there. What makes you think that? Well, since there's a turn, we've been walking straight ahead all the time, and now... Okay, let's go and take a look. In a few minutes, we finally came to the gates of the camp. I collapsed down on the curb and buried my face in my hands. I didn't feel scared. In fact, I didn't feel any emotion at all. Just the fatigue and the void inside me. But how? I mumbled Electronic. No idea. Besides, what's the difference anyway? It's not like this is any stranger than anything else that's happened to me in the last few days. I looked up at him feeling exhausted. Electronic's lips were trembling. An expression of deathly horror was plastered on his face. Let's go back and fetch the girls. I didn't wait for him and just shuffled back to where we left them. Found anything? Asked Masha, chewing on some strawberries of uncertain origin. We did. A camp. What camp? She looked surprised. Our camp. What? Masha looked so silly now, so I couldn't help flashing an iconic smile. But you were going forward, not backward. Forward, and the camp is there. Hey, stop joking, she exclaimed. I am dead serious. But, said Alyssa quietly. She was sitting down on the grass, cradling the head of Lena, who was still sleeping. Yeah, just like that, I said tiredly and dropped down to the ground. Okay, it means we're heading there. I looked at Masha keenly and suddenly realized that I can't wait anymore. Hey, what's happening with you? What do you mean? Her look screamed now that now isn't the time for breezy chatter. You were scared to death yesterday, yet today you have this happens to be all the time attitude. But what's the point of panicking? She cracked a barely visible smile. If I didn't know you, I went quiet, bit my lip, and turned away. But really, do I know her that well? Sure, we spent so many years together, but if you get down to it, I always thought more about myself. Yeah, no kidding. Or rather, I always believed that she was completely satisfied. And she was always the same to me. And the same is just about anything. Even when we were breaking up, as if she wasn't a real person, just my favorite article of clothing. Oh my god, you were such an asshole. This guy is fucking worthless. Alright, sorry about the language, but, you know, I feel like at this point, there's lots of swearing already. I'm just saying, this guy, I hate this guy, the way he talks about people. I hate him. Worse than even regular Semyon, if you believe it. I actually liked regular Semyon more than this guy. It's insane, but I did, somehow. Oh my god. Thinking about it, I have no idea what's going on in her soul. I just never cared about it. Yeah, no kidding. Thus, her behavior like this, under the circumstances, didn't seem more bizarre than anything else that's happening to us. And if you think about that talk at the beach 2 evenings ago, she probably really is stronger than me. Yeah, I agree. Hey, are you listening to me at all? Oh, sorry, I got carried away. So much has happened. She looked at me sternly. Let's get going to the camp, or wherever you are. Or wherever you were, if that's the same old camp. Alright. In fact, it's not like we had any other choice. A few more hours in the scorching heat would only yield more casualties. But we have to carry her along. Yeah, just a sec. Let me figure it out. I found 2 fairly long and sturdy sticks in the nearby grove. Coming back, I ordered Electronic to take his shirt off. He tried to object, but soon enough he realized that there was no use in arguing. I took off my shirt as well, and we made a sort of stretcher attaching the fabric to the poles. Will it hold? Masha gave our device a questioning look, but ultimately gave it a few strong pulls, assuring its strength, and smiled. It will, at least until we reach the camp. I would have just put her on my back, but whatever. Or carried her in my arms, like, you know, like princess style. It was hard to go in this heat, but it was even harder to carry the injured, that is Lena. Several times I almost fainted, and I barely caught myself halfway to the ground. Electronic felt even worse. Both Masha and Alyssa were swapping places with him every now and then. Still, my pride won't allow me to ask them to carry Lena even for a minute. Sure, it's silly to act like that under these circumstances, but I couldn't help myself. That's actually the manly thing to do. I know actually being manly and responsible and a good person is strange for this guy, but that's actually what you should do, so you know. That is yet another flaw in my personality, along with coldness and attentiveness to others, even my loved ones, and other less than noble traits. Well, at least he's self-aware. Finally, we somehow made it to the camp gates, and I collapsed to the grass in the shadow of the unknown pioneer statue, completely worn out. It actually is our camp. Masha lingered on the words, and indeed it looks the same. We have to carry her to the cabin. Alyssa mentioned quietly. Yeah. I got up with considerable effort and prepared for the last run. The obvious choice was Olga's cabin. Most likely because we managed to come through the last night here without any major problems. At least we were still alive. Me and Electronic were sprawled, exhausted on one bed, and the girls were undressing Lena on the other. Don't look, said Masha sternly. It's not like there's anything worth looking at. Wow, what an asshole. I snorted and turned away, giving Electronic a harsh poke in the ribs, making him follow my lead. We're going to get some water and probably rummage through the canteen, too. It's dangerous to go alone. You want to come along? She grinned. No thanks. At least take that pipe with you, I said uncertainly. Do you really think it'll help? I sighed heavily and closed my eyes. Well, be careful then. The door closed after a second. You asleep? Electronic's whisper reached me, as if one could sleep here. All at once, I heard Lena moan from the other bed. I sat up on my elbows and looked at her. Lena was tossing and turning under the blanket. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and abruptly turned to face me. Oh, good God. A devilish grin was frozen on her face, the same one I saw yesterday evening. Hot enough for you, huh? She burst into laughter. I felt a shiver run down my spine. My ability to speak vanished. You. What? Asked Electronic through his sleep. I turned to him sharply. Look! I waved my hands pointing at Lena's bed. What? He got up and looked where I was pointing at, then back at me. I turned and just saw Lena sleeping peacefully. Didn't you hear it? What? Her. Lena was awake and said, "Oh, it seems like you've gotten sunstroke too." He turned towards the wall, but I'm absolutely sure that I heard and saw it. Well, it could be true that the heat got to me at last, but it all seemed to be exactly like that last time, like that time, and it wasn't Lena. At the very least, it's not the Lena I knew, as if she's possessed by the devil. Yeah, God only knows. This route's freaking weird. I lay down and pulled a blanket over my head. I really wanted to sleep, but the realization that I might never wake up again if I fall asleep now is keeping me up and running. I'm not sure how long I spent lying like that, trembling at every rustle, but eventually the door burst open and steps resounded in the room. I barely peered out from under the blanket and caught a glimpse of Alyssa and Masha entering with a bucket of water and some bags. I see you went a bit crazy there. Yeah, sorta, I replied with a trembling voice, trying to flash a smile. Everything okay? Seems like it. I glanced at Lena yet again, and she was still sleeping peacefully. Maybe it was indeed just my imagination? Sure, given a condition of such extreme emotional stress and physical fatigue, I might be seeing things. I got up with considerable effort, took a cup from the table, and scooped up some water. So, what are we doing next? We'll have to stay here for now. But Olga has called the police, muttered Alyssa. Yeah, but everyone disappeared after that. In any case, until Lena comes to her senses. Although if I ever happen to see her like that again, I would frankly rather she didn't wake up. Alyssa lay down on Lena's bed, and Masha sat down next to me. Get some sleep. She gently stroked the top of my head. Can you really sleep with all this happening? We'll keep guard. You look really tired. I guess she was right. Okay, but just a nap. Wake me up before evening. She didn't say a word, just smiled instead. Promise. I promise, replied Masha quietly. Heh, bet you she doesn't. I closed my eyes and instantly tumbled into a dream. Here they come again. Oh my god. More about the grasshoppers. He died, got mauled by grasshoppers, you get it. I jump up in a cold sweat. Like I said, he got killed by grasshoppers, you get it. My own scream still reverberated in the room. It took me several seconds to clear the dimness from my eyes. I looked around frantically and realized that it was evening already, and it was completely dark outside. Good grief, we didn't turn off the light yesterday. Masha was lying asleep next to me, while Electronic was curled up on the floor. Lena was lying on the other bed, tightly wrapped in a blanket, and Alyssa was nowhere to be seen. Hey, I woke Masha up with a few rough prods. What? She slowly came to her senses. Didn't I ask you? Sorry, I fell asleep. She had such a guilty expression on her face that I felt sick. I shouldn't have relied on her. At least I could have set up an alarm. I woke Electronic up. Where's Alyssa? I don't know, said Masha worriedly. Well, who does know? We were all asleep. Well, she was sleeping here, and then her eyes darted around guiltily. And then you fell asleep. She hung her head and let out a heavy sigh. Oh, perfect. Just perfect. I pounded my fist on the table, making Masha jump. Okay, you sit here. We'll go and find her. Alone? Her face suddenly took an expression of fright. Alone? Wasn't it you who told me that it's not worth panicking? Yeah, but it's not. Oh, fine. I'll go alone. But, or do you really want to sit here with only Lena? Masha kept silent. It's dangerous to go alone. I noticed that Electronic seemed to have fully awakened. And it's not dangerous for her to sit here all alone. I felt that there was no point in arguing, so I got up, grabbed my trusty pipe, and headed for the door. In any case, given that people have been disappearing into thin air, one can't feel safe anywhere or in any company. Of course, it still could turn out that Alyssa just went somewhere, to the toilet for example. Although, given how frightened she looked, I guess she would have woken up Masha, or just have held it till morning. Damn, anything but going all alone through the camp. I braced myself, pulled the handle, and went outside. I swept my eyes across the landscape, and then... Ah, yes! Look, guys, we found, Alyssa. I saw Alyssa. There she is. Hanging high above the ground from the tree right in front of the cabin. A sharp pain pierced my temples and I collapsed to the ground. The horror was so overwhelming that I literally felt my whole body being bound in steel chains. Blinded with fear, I barely managed to crawl back into the cabin and close the door. What happened? Masha rushed over to me. Don't look. I grasped her arm. Don't go outside. What's the matter? She reached out for the door handle. I attempted to stop her, but I was so weak I could only let out a groan of despair. Opening the door, Masha screamed and froze in her tracks. Gathering my last ounces of strength, I got up and kicked the door shut. The next moment, Masha fainted and fell back into my arms. I carried her to the bed and put her down next to the shaking Electronic. His face told me that he's definitely not interested in knowing what happened there. All these screams woke Lena up, who rose slightly in her bed and gave us a glance. What's happening? She asked in a whisper. I didn't know how I should reply. I felt a scream rising up in my throat, but I managed to muffle it with a hollow sigh. Lena was terrified, but she still didn't realize what exactly had happened here. Don't go outside, I moaned. Unlike Masha, she wasn't one to argue. An oppressive silence ensued. Even the oh my god, Masha was if he even says the word grasshopper anymore, I'm gonna deck him. I swear to God. Masha was still lying on my lap, Router was quivering in the corner of the bed, and Lena was sitting in front of me with an expression of doom and despair on her face. I stared at the door with an unblinking gaze, waiting for the moment it will burst open, and my fear couldn't manifest in any concrete form. A homicidal maniac, a monster, an alien. It was the horror of the unknowable, darkness, and emptiness. I wasn't afraid that it would be torn to pieces just like Slavya, or that I would be, or I would become a zombie like Olyana. I was afraid to despair, vanish without a trace from this world, or disappear, not despair. Masha let out a quiet moan. I just had such a nightmare. It wasn't a dream. She opened her eyes wide and looked at me with horror. Then, there? Don't look. I shouted and hastily embraced her. Lena started crying loudly, ran up and pressed herself against me, trembling all over. Long minutes dragged on in agonizing silence. So, what are we going to do now? Asked Masha through her tears. She didn't seem so self-confident now, although we were all in the same situation. Time passed, yet nothing happened. We had to make a decision. I couldn't say that I came back to my senses after what I saw, but I still felt my mind clearing up a bit. I knew one thing for certain, we can't stay here. And it wasn't because it was more dangerous here than anywhere else. It's just because I can't endure staying near the corpse of Alyssa. I bet it's even more of a gut-wrenching experience for the girls. We have to go, I said quietly. I felt Masha and Lena hugging me even tighter. We have to... Electronic stopped shaking and left the bed. How you feeling? I asked Lena. She said nothing. Can you walk? Probably. I gently escaped their embraces and got up. We have to run. At night it'll be easier to go. But Masha tried to make a humble objection. Yeah, I know we decided to stay, but now we have to get out of here. I turned to Electronic. You do realize that they shouldn't see all that. You do realize that they shouldn't see all that. He gave a barely visible nod. Although Electronic didn't know what happened to Alyssa, it was obvious that his vivid imagination had conjured up so many gruesome theories during this time that he was probably even more depressed than me. Okay, we're gonna hold hands and go. I'll go first and lead the way. Masha goes next, then Lena, then you. I looked at the girls. They were sitting with their heads hanging down, sobbing quietly. Ready? Nobody replied. This was obviously a useless question. One can never be ready for such a situation. I took Masha's hand, turned around, and gave Lena and Router a serious look. Okay, now shut your eyes, and do not open them no matter what. You got that? Yeah. Lena nodded. I steeled myself, burst open the door, and went out holding Masha's hand. Watch out for the steps. Hi, Alyssa. When we made our way outside, I darted a final glance at Alyssa. What I saw now didn't send me sprawling to the ground, although my heart was racing frantically. I was feeling sick and dizzy, and my stomach turned. Although, I will say this, though. Earlier, when we were in the canteen, I joked and said there was pioneers hanging from the ceiling. There you go! And one of them did get hanged. And okay, I was just curious. Slavya is gone, by the way. Or maybe it's not the same tree, it's hard to say. Anyway. Right. She was hanging about 5 meters above the ground. Several neckerchiefs tied together in a string were tightened around her throat. Bulging eyes, protruding tongue, oh, man. I know what the word is, I can't say it because of my stutter. We're already at work on the body. It looked like she didn't die a couple of hours ago, but at least a couple of days. An expression of agony and inhuman suffering were permanently frozen on her face. It was clear that she couldn't have done such a thing to herself. My God, who came up with all this? Maybe we are in hell. I hastened my steps away from the diabolical scene, dragging the others along. I ordered them to open their eyes only when we reached the square. She's still there? Asked Masha, not letting go of my hand. I just nodded. Who, Alyssa? Elena cried out and burst into tears. Masha embraced her and tried to comfort her. What happened to her? Muttered Electronic. I refuse to say Router. Because he's from the Pioneer world, which means he's Electronic. Router is the movie world. So that means he's Electronic. Now she technically is Masha because she's also from Movie Land, and she is still Lena in both, but she's Lena from Pioneer Land. So that means he's Electronic. That's how this works. Anyway, I bet you don't want to know that. For a while, I just stood there and looked at the moon. Lena was sobbing, Electronic was pacing in circles around us, and Masha, because she's from our world. And Masha sat down on the bench and buried her face in her hands. Okay, it's time. I said quietly, yet nobody moved. We can't stay here. I walked to Masha, leaned over, and took her hand. She raised her eyes, filled with tears to me, and nodded. We slowly proceeded to the bus stop. Night has fallen on the camp. Along the way, I noticed that the grasshoppers have fallen silent. Keeping silent for some time, now they're... Oh my God. I swear to God, don't you say violin. Nope. More about grasshoppers. We came to the bus stop and stopped, hesitating. So, where are we going? Asked Masha, wiping her tears. Okay, we already tried going to the right, let's go to the left. But there's no town there. And just a couple of days ago, there was no camp to the right. Maybe we shouldn't. Lena sobbed quietly. We have no choice. We can't stay here any longer. We were just about to get moving when we heard noises approaching us from far away. I strained my eyes and I caught a glimpse of someone coming here down the road. A bus, exclaimed Electronic with joy in his voice. Shut up, you fool. That's not a bus. People are approaching. I hissed at him. Lots of people, said Masha anxiously. It was utterly clear that we shouldn't stay here any longer. I turned around and saw someone approaching us from down the road from the other direction. The noise was getting louder. Oh, it's awful. The chirping of grasshoppers, although not the... Well, he said grasshoppers again, but at least this time it feels applicable. Run! I shouted, but nobody moved. Oh, screw it. I grabbed Masha's hand, Lena's hands, and darted off back into the camp. Okay, well, that time he said grasshopper, but that time it actually sounded prevalent and not like his stupid imagination that time. So it felt important enough to actually read it. Okay, the girls were floundering in a stupor, so I ended up literally dragging them along. Having dashed to the square, I stopped to catch my breath, and only then did I realize that Electronic had been left behind. We have to go back to get him. Masha screamed and shifted towards the bus stop. Are you nuts? I pulled her hand and forced her to stop. You want us all to meet the same fate? Lena was trembling so wildly that I felt my hand shaking as it held hers. Keep running. Where to? Don't know. Into the woods. Returning to Olga's cabin wasn't an option. My self-preservation instinct also suggested that we shouldn't stay in the open area as well. We dashed towards the woods. I held the girls' hands tightly. They ran with difficulty, especially Lena, who was swaying and weaving. She fell a few times, but I quickly picked her up, spurring her on with shouts and dragged her on. Passing through the trees was the hardest part. Though the full moon was shining up in the sky, in the dark I still constantly running into snags, branches, falling into pits. Needles were slashing my legs, and leaves were hitting me in the face, leaving painful scratches. My heart was pounding heavily. Every breath I took whistled painfully in my lungs. The blood was pounding so heavily in my head that it seemed like my skull was ready to burst from the pressure any moment. I stopped feeling my body. My legs carried me forward by themselves. At last we ran into a clearing and stopped. Exhausted, the girls fell to the ground and I sat on a fallen tree. Who were they? People or demons or something else? And what was that chirping sound coming from? I couldn't make them out in the twilight, but that was probably for the best. After I slightly recovered my senses, I walked up to the girls. Lena was lying dead white on the ground, seemed like she'd completely lost it. Masha was sitting, hugging her knees and rocking from side to side. We've got to do something, I said as I sat near her. It's too late, we're gonna die, she whispered in a hollow voice. We're still alive, and that means there's still hope. No, there's nothing now, it's all over. I put my arms around her and held her tight. No, it's not. Guys, I got an idea. To the bomb shelter! Come on, it's the perfect place. It was built to last, man. I mean, like, other than the rusted door. But you can get in there. You've been in the mine a lot of times. I sat staring into the darkness of the forest. The grasshoppers could barely be heard now. If not for Masha's labored breathing, I would think I was dead. Forgive me, she whispered quietly. For what? For everything. For being like that. For whatever we failed to achieve. It's not the right time for that now, I said tenderly. We don't have much time left, so I'd say it's the right time. She looked at me and faintly smiled. Forgive me. If only I hadn't been so selfish in the first place. I looked into her eyes, her bottomless, sorrowful eyes, and I felt a hot tear crossing my cheek. No, it's me who should be sorry. I was totally ignorant of what to say in such a situation. I did so much wrong to her, caused her so much pain, and now at the last minute, I can't think of anything other than an empty I'm sorry. I was so overwhelmed with anger at my helplessness, at being unable to protect the only person I held dear. You know, I always loved you. I know, she said quietly. Masha smiled again, though her face was trembling and tears were running down her cheeks. And I still love you. I know. I couldn't stand it. I longed to turn away to close my eyes, but I can't afford weakness at this last minute. I leaned down and kissed her hard. Time stood still for us. This cursed pioneer camp, the dark night, all those hellspawn, and even the bloody grasshoppers just ceased to exist. The whole universe ceased to exist. Just the two of us were left. And Lena over there. Just when I was almost willing to believe that it was all just a bad dream, the woods came alive with rustling. The foliage far away quivered and a swarm of vague silhouettes emerged from the darkness. I still couldn't make them out, but I was certain that they were the same creatures that we'd seen at the bus stop. My whole body was stricken with dismay. I was afraid to breathe. So, this is how it ends, said Masha quietly and held me tighter. No, this is not the end. Suddenly, I realized that I will fight for her until the last drop of my blood. Finally, being a man! As long as there is the slightest chance of survival. I jumped up, tugged her off the ground, and rushed over to Lena. She was lying deathly pale, with her eyes open, and she didn't seem to understand what was happening at all. I started shaking her by the shoulders. Get up! There was no reaction. I gave her a few slaps, but she let out a dull moan. Get up now! As I roused Lena, she stared at me with a spaced-out look. Let's run! I grabbed the girls by their hands and rushed aimlessly. The further from them, the better. I was tumbling down, getting up again, helping Lena and Masha to get up too, hewing through the dense foliage. Eventually, the noise faded, leaving us with only the quiet chirping of grasshoppers. The light flickered in the distance. I swear to God, if he says grasshoppers one more time. Hey, we're actually going to the mine! Huzzah! Soon enough, we came out to a small clearing. Yes, we know. What is that? I stammered. The building of the old camp, said Lena faintly. She seems that she was slowly coming back to her senses. I stopped, hesitating. Sure, it was quite naive to think that we'd find shelter here. It was obvious that we can't secure anywhere with all the stuff that's happening. On the other hand, we were on the verge of collapsing, especially the girls. I took a few hesitant steps towards the building, with the rustling from behind reaching my ears. I froze in my tracks, unable to turn around. Oh, God. The rustling was getting louder, and suddenly we heard the diabolical chirping. Oh, what the hell? I forced myself with a superhuman effort and turned around. A crowd was behind me. A crowd of little girls. Oh, why? Rather, a crowd of Ulyanas. They were all exactly the same as the Yana I saw that morning, with the same torn face and horribly distorted smile. Ah, you can see it with that one. Oh, that's icky. And all of them made the same hellish sound. Oh, why? The sound is awful. The chirping of grasshoppers, a diabolical noise that chilled my heart. We froze where we stood, unable to take a single step away. Oh my God! All of a sudden, one of the Ulyanas came forward from the crowd and pulled the severed head of Electronic from behind her back. A grimace of horror was permanently frozen on his face. I almost fainted as she started to talk. Hi there, Semyon. How you doing? Her voice felt like a bullet piercing right through my brain. I screamed and fled towards the old camp building, dragging the girls along. I must admit, back then, I'd completely stopped thinking of Masha or Lena. Maybe they were also screaming, maybe they were shackled by horror, I didn't know. The most important thing now is to get as far away as possible from these monsters. We flew into the building and immediately the ground disappeared under our feet and I fell into the blackness. I woke in complete darkness. My whole body ached, especially my legs, but somehow I still managed to get up, leaning against the wall. The sound of the Ulyanas was nowhere to be heard, which calmed me down a little. I called all out in a thin voice, Masha, Lena. I heard a movement nearby and felt someone gripping my leg. I instinctively jumped back, but at the same moment, a faint voice came from below. Are we still alive? Seems like it. I helped Masha get up. Hey, look, we are going to the bomb shelter. Hey, told you, this is the time. Suddenly, a bright light fired up a couple of meters away from me. I leaned against the wall, trembling, but immediately realized that it was Lena, who had turned on a flashlight. Where did that come from? Where'd you get that? Lena came closer, limping. I took it just in case, yesterday. I took the flashlight from her and shone it around. We were in some kind of tunnel. The walls were lined with wires. Unlit lamps were hanging from the ceiling. Where are we? I don't know. Looks like some kind of bomb shelter. I mean, didn't you write that script? Shouldn't you know what this is? I looked up and saw a pretty formidable hole, beyond which one could barely make out the hallway of the old camp building. The floor had probably rotted with age, and we fell down here. At first glance, there was no way to climb back. Too high, and there is nothing to climb. So what is there? Go further? I asked, not really expecting an answer. I don't know, but we'll have to check. I shone the flashlight ahead of us and took a few uncertain steps. My whole body was covered in bruises and scratches, but I could still walk. Ow. Lena cried out behind me. What is it? I think I sprained my ankle. I was honestly expecting the next line to be cliched with, leave me behind, I'll only be a burden, but of course she could never say that. Okay, lean on me. I went over to Lena and offered her my shoulder. Soon enough, the stone walls gave way to wooden ones, and we ended up in some sort of mine. Let's have a break, Masha begged. I carefully lowered Lena to the ground and sat down nearby. Well, at least those monsters are nowhere to be seen. But for how long? I sighed heavily and closed my eyes. What do you think is going on here? Masha's voice was trembling, but she still sounded more or less confident. Looks like she's so exhausted and devastated that there's no strength left for fear. I don't know, and honestly, I just don't want to know. But we're gonna get out. Definitely. Oh, sorry, my throat's dry. I couldn't see her face, but I was sure that she was smiling. Suddenly, the flashlight blinked and went out. I hit it with my palm several times. The mine's walls lit up with a dim light once again, and I immediately realized that something was wrong. Lena was nowhere to be found. Lena disappeared, I whispered. What? Masha grabbed me by the sleeve, and I stared at the spot where Lena had been standing a moment ago. What? How? How? But how? She started to cry quietly. We will die. We will definitely die. I also very much wanted to burst into tears. Darkness surrounded us all around, closing in. The flashlight was gradually dying, and with it, our chances of survival. Get up, time to go. The battery will die soon. A couple of minutes later, we came to a fork. What the hell? Is this kind of labyrinth too? I hissed under my breath. Let's go back, maybe? No way. Masha pressed up against me even harder. Where to then? I don't know. But we had to choose anyway, and I decided to go right. Go right, left, right. I know where to go, pal. Soon we came to another fork. Where to now? Let's stick to the direction we chose before. I wonder if he looks like he's just going to take us, maybe. We had been wandering for too long. We had neither strength nor will left to move on. I was so terribly thirsty that I had ready to lick the moisture from the walls. Oh, that's gross. Let's sit, just a little bit. Let's sit. We can't, we must keep going. But just a minute. Masha begged in anguish. Fine. She lowered her head onto my shoulder. We are gonna die here now. We stop moving, it's over. The flashlight was blinking more and more often, so I decided to turn it off for now to save the battery. This is it. It might be. It very well could be. I don't know how much time had passed. I desperately wanted to sleep, but my eyes were closing by themselves. How did we first meet? That was so long ago. Do you remember? I asked in a whisper. What? Masha's voice was trembling. How we met? Yeah. She tried to laugh, but immediately began to cough. I'll sleep for a while, okay? Just for a while, just for a while, or you'll sleep through the whole day again. But will you wake me up? Of course. I kissed her and closed my eyes. Oblivion was getting closer, but I didn't care. I was transported back in time to that very day. Are we in the middle of a flashback sequence? My whole body was aching. Nope, we are not getting a flashback. He's just imagining it. Perhaps my brain couldn't rest peacefully because it was distracted by thousands of signals from my nerve endings. Somehow I rose and woke up Masha. After all, we were planning to survive. Huh, okay, cool. How long have we been in the mine? Fork after fork, tunnel after tunnel. Masha was whispering something all the time. To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. It seemed that I wasn't able to handle even one more turn. But suddenly, the flashlight highlighted a tight passage in the darkness, and soon we found ourselves in an open chamber. Look, Masha was pointing somewhere into the darkness. I flashed the light there and saw a neckerchief lying on the ground. Well, this is not, no, let's go. At last we got out of the labyrinth and found ourselves in a small room. There were broken bottles all over the floor, pipes scratched along the walls, and at the end of them were rusted valves. A mess of graffiti was scrawled all over the walls. At least it's a change of scenery, I sighed. The flashlight had almost died, and I had to shake it every 10 seconds to slightly recover the battery. Exhausted, Masha dropped to the floor. We can't stop. I'm sure there is an exit somewhere here. How do you know? I looked at her. She obviously had no energy anymore. Masha was struggling with her exhaustion and could lose consciousness any second. I just know it. I smiled, trying to look encouraging. Well, if so. She leaned against the wall and stood up hardly. Sit here for now. I'll see what is further on. I'm afraid. Masha trembled. I'm not going far. She raised her eyes to me, full of hope, and nodded almost imperceptibly. Ah, look, the bomb shelter! I looked around and noticed a heavy iron door. My attempts to open it came to nothing. It was completely rusted shut. Well, damn. I wish I had that pipe for here now, but there was no other choice. I braced my leg against the wall and threw all my weight against the handle. My muscles bulged, my forehead was awash with sweat, my vision darkened. But the door didn't budge, just gave a hollow rattle. It's alright, wait a second. I shouted over to Masha, gasping for breath. I need to find some kind of stick. I ran over to Masha, bent down and smiled. There's definitely an exit behind that door. Huh, she looked at me warily. I ran out of the room and began to scour the mine in search of something suitable. The flashlight was about to die, and having blinked its last, it finally went out. I panicked and began to blunder around, trying to find the way back. However, I kept running into walls, and I couldn't remember at all how I got here. Oh, you freaking idiot. Masha! Masha! I screamed, hoping that she would hear me. Oh, you idiot. Suddenly, a sound came from behind me. A light appeared, and my shadow appeared on the ground, stretching far off into the darkness. I was rooted to the spot by fear. I heard a seemingly familiar voice. What's wrong, Semyon? Got lost? Oh, good God. I slowly turned around and saw Lena holding a flaming torch in her hand. Her face was disfigured by an inhuman grin. I've come for you. This was the same Lena that I saw at the square last evening. The same as in Olga's cabin. That was Lena. At the same time, not Lena. This creature was more like those Olyanas. I'm coming for you. Who are you? I squeezed out. It's Lena. Don't you recognize me? She burst into devilish laughter. You completely forgot about me while having fun with them? Words stuck in my throat. It's alright, there's no one left now, just the two of us. So you did everything? Bingo! Not everything, of course. For a second, her face became guilty, but then she grinned again. Slavya was first. She was always so annoying. She was Miss Reliability, diligent, hardworking, always everywhere, agreeing with everyone. Yuck! Boy, did she scream when I was tearing off her arms, huh? It's a pity you didn't get to see it all. Her mouth began to tremble, her saliva dripped out of it, and her eyes rolled up. And then Alyssa. Everyone is annoying me. I don't need anyone. Now she's hanging peacefully alone on a tree. However, it wasn't easy to lift her up there, but it had much greater effect. How all of you screamed, huh? Like pigs in a slaughterhouse. Lena's face was twisted by a grin of sick pleasure. Alright, just that bitch Miku left to deal with, then it's over. Uh-oh. She produced a giant cleaver covered with blood from behind her back. Well, actually, She seemed to me that she was lost in thought. I don't know what that crap in the form of Ulyana was. Her and her other pioneers weren't killed by me, but doesn't really matter now. Well, so now we know it was Ulyana. Freaking called it. And Ulyana killed Slavya in like the worst way. Killed Alyssa. She was not responsible for Ulyana and the cricket zombie thing, but now she's coming for the rest of it. She shook the torch and it flared out in a second. Wait here, I'll be quick. Her devilish lasher came from behind me. That means she went after Masha. I must do something quickly, but I have absolutely no idea which way to run. The darkness completely disoriented me. Screw it. I ran the way I assumed Lena went. After only a short way, I painfully smashed into a wall, turned around trying to move slowly, but I stumbled over another obstacle, fell down, and screamed in pain. Trying to rise, I realized that I couldn't put weight on my left leg. Seems like I twisted it. Oh, what a baby. I tried to crawl, but it worked out badly. The whole mine floor was covered with sharp stones, rusty nails, and broken boards. After only a short way, my arms were torn to bleeding pieces of meat, and my eyes couldn't be opened because of the dust and sand. I fumbled in my pockets and pulled out the matchbox. I tried to light a match with my shaking hands, but I couldn't get them to light. Calm down, I muttered. At last, after the 5th try, the mine was lightened by a dim light. I quickly oriented myself and worked out which way I have to run. I seemed to me that the only few seconds passed before I found myself in the room where I'd left Masha. Here we go. The last match went out, but I had just enough time to see Lena raising her cleaver above Masha. I rushed towards them screaming and dived forward. My hands suddenly collided with something. I fell to the ground and began screaming everything around me. Most of my punches didn't hit the mark, but then my hands met something soft. I heard a moan and dead silence set in. I rolled onto my back and started breathing heavily, inhaling the dry air greedily. Masha, I called. I heard quiet sobs. Are you still alive? Yeah, she whispered. Did she get you? No. I began to fumble in the darkness and soon found the torch and a lighter. Shapeless shadows began to dance on the walls, and I saw Lena's body sprawled on the floor. She seemed to be alive. I was gonna finish her. Don't. Masha crawled over to me and grabbed my leg. But we can't just... You don't need to. I would say you do. Of course Lena wasn't to blame for everything, but she's the devil incarnate. There's no way we can let a human like her, if she can still be called a human, live. But when I looked at Masha, I realized that I can't. I just can't. I took up the cleaver from the floor, twisting it in my hands, and decided that it would make a perfect crowbar. Going over to the door, I jammed it into the wheel and pulled on it as hard as I could. The door creaked and opened. Fresh air streamed into the room. We're saved. I returned to Masha, helped her up to get up, and we left the room, leaving Lena lying unconscious. That is such a stupid mistake. Beyond the door, there was a short corridor with a ladder at the end of it, which led up to a grating. I climbed up, pulled on it with all my strength. The grating fell down with a crash, and we climbed out. I fell to the grass exhausted and looked around. Again the square, again the camp. The bright red dawn was breaking in the east, burning the tops of the distant forest. The last stars winked at me, unaware of everything that had happened in here, in this hell. Masha rested her head on my shoulder and pointed it up to the sky with a trembling hand. I wish we were there. Though we got out of the dungeon, nothing is over. Crowds of zombie Ulyanas are wandering through the camp, and insane Lena is lying underneath, and heaven knows how much more devilry we will encounter here. I really want to sleep. I didn't know how to answer her, because I didn't know where to run. Don't know where we could be safe. I don't know how to return to our world. Sleep. I patted Masha's head. Listen, would this make a great script for a film? Wouldn't this make a great script for a film? She laughed out loud. I looked at her in horror. Masha was smiling, but her smile wasn't diabolical like the one of Lena's. It was pure, honest, and maybe even childish. All her exhaustion had gone away, and her eyes were shining with a cheerful spark. What happened to you? I could hardly speak. Everything is fine. She lay down on my shoulder again. That was the last scene. What the hell? Suddenly, I felt my strength leaving me. My vision darkened, my consciousness began to float away somewhere. I was lying in silence, and only the sound of Masha's breath could be heard. Not the grasshopper chirping, not all of them had died at last, and only Masha's steady breathing, and her smile. Well, boy howdy, isn't this something? Hey look, music. I struggled to open my eyes. Bright moonlight reflected on the water, cheerfully skipping on the waves. A light night breeze was blowing, and somewhere far away an owl was hooting. I looked at Masha, who slept peacefully covered by my shirt. What a dream. My mobile phone dimly showed the time, 3 a.m. We'd better go to bed, or tomorrow Olga will make us. I just decided to wake Masha up, but I suddenly noticed an open script and a pen next to her. I quickly went through several pages and was horrified. It was completely identical to what happened in my dream. Bile rose in my throat and my eyes darkened. Masha rolled over, opened her eyes, and looked at me. You awake? Did you write this? I asked, tongue thick-tongued. Yeah, what's wrong? I didn't know how to answer. I just couldn't understand what was going on. You were sleeping so cutely that I didn't want to wake you, and the grasshoppers were chirping so loudly, she smiled. Wait, but we're here now? I mean, we're not pioneers, we're filming here and all that kind of stuff, aren't we? Yeah, of course we are. Masha looked at me uncomprehendingly. Maybe I woke up, read what she wrote, and fell asleep again? You're drenched with sweat. She fumbled in the pockets of the pioneer uniform lying next to her and gave me a handkerchief. A typical Russian handkerchief embroidered with colorful flowers. I took it and suddenly felt a surge of warmth, the same warmth you feel when someone dear to your heart gives you a present. Shall we go? Masha started getting dressed. Yeah, let's go. I barely stood up and went down to the river. Cold water revived me and that dream stopped seeming so real. After all, it was just a dream, wasn't it? On our way back, Masha held my hand and chattered about everything nonstop. We came to the square. I hope those creatures that let me sleep at least tonight, she said thoughtfully. Who? The grasshoppers. Ah, yes, that'd be great. Well, I'll go. She looked at me keenly, turned around and was about to leave. Wait. I grabbed her hand, pulled her towards me, and kissed her hard. Because sometimes a dream is just a dream, and reality is reality. He's like, after what I went through, I just want you to know that I love you. Huh. Interesting. I want to make sure it's over before I actually give my impressions. Hey, what is this? I don't even... Nailed it! So there's the Miku ending. Every story has a beginning and an end. Every story has an outline. Every story, almost every. Bam. All right, well, there you go. Honestly, not bad. I liked that. That was, I mean, it was very surprising. There was brutal death, and I am kind of a horror nut, so I'm okay with that. It's not what I expected. And honestly, at first, I wasn't super psyched about the whole shooting a movie thing. I didn't love that part of it. But then when it turned into kind of a horror experience, I was okay with that, just like how I'm okay with that. And sorry. Anyway, so honestly, I liked it. I think so far that was the best one since the Slavya one. Slavya so far is the best one, but this one is probably my second favorite. Mostly because the last three, other than like, you know, Lena and Alyssa and Olyana, were pretty meh. And so I really liked this. Second favorite, other than of course the Slavya one. So not bad, not bad. So this one, we're at 2 hours, 27 minutes. After I edit out, because I'm probably going to edit out that first attempt when I accidentally did the wrong thing, I'll probably find some way in editing to make it so we can save time. But I think that cuts out like half an hour, I think. Because it took I think we were at like 37 minutes when we finished. So it probably cuts out a solid maybe 20 minutes or something. So something along those lines. So because of that, this one will be closer to 2 hours. And so that almost makes me want to record a full thing for Saints Row, but we'll see what happens with that. But ultimately, not bad. It wasn't what I expected, but honestly, I'm okay with that. They got their happily ever after because after what he went through, he's gonna learn to not be such an asshole and appreciate his girl and be a better person, ideally. But honestly, I hated him more than I hated Semyon, believe it or not. That guy was like the worst. He was such a douchebag, and so it was really hard dealing with him. But the point is, we got, what is this? I don't even, and that's pretty exciting. Oh my goodness. So, the next two, the final two, are going to be amazing. The next one is A Cat is Fine Too, and that is a great cat girl. I'm beyond excited for that. And after that is Harem Master 80 level, which is altogether ending. So we'll see what happens with that, but that'll be the final one. So we're almost done, everybody. Almost done. So what I'm thinking, so today is what, Thursday? Thursday, beautiful. So today is Thursday. So tomorrow will be regular uploads as far as I know. And tomorrow will be the Cat Girl. Very exciting. And then I might record Saturday as well, even though that'll be 6 days a week. I might record just one video on Saturday and record the final one for this. And record Harem Master, level 80. Just so that way we can finish this game, so that way starting Monday, we can start with a brand new game. So we might try and prioritize knocking this out even more so before this next week, so that way we can be done with it and we can move on with our lives, and I can find something that involves less reading. So, because that will be nice for me. Anyway, I think that's everything. So, yeah, so I will be recording Saints Row right after this. So if you're interested in that, you're more than welcome to go check it out. And I think that's everything. Anyway, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.